Rightio, good morning everyone and welcome to today's Liveability Governance and Finance Standing Committee meeting. Today is Wednesday the 13th of September. Now with today's meeting we'll just note the leave of absence for the Mayor Otto, so we'll just recognise that one. There's no other apologies, Susan, no, okay, so no other apologies. So what we'll do is we'll move straight on to the recognition of traditional owners with Councillor Duff. Thank you.
Thank you, Acting Chair. I'd like to acknowledge country and the land where we meet this morning, the Waka Waka land, and acknowledge the elders both past, present and emerging. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any declarations of interest? Councillor Henson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just bring to the Chamber's attention, and I know we've gone through this before, but item 15.1, fees and charges in transshipping fee. I use carriers and those Quillabanya sale and have done previously at different times. Bring it to the attention. I don't believe I have a conflict of interest there, but and believe I can stay in the meeting and give a what would be the right terminology, a fair and reasonable assessment of the item on the agenda that I'm talking about. But if my colleagues feel any different, I'm happy to leave the room, but just want to make note of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henson. Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Councillor Potter. I think I would have to do the same because I would be in a similar situation to Councillor Henson, so I'm happy to leave the chamber if my colleagues think that that's necessary, but I don't think I would have, I think I would have an unbiased opinion. Thank you.
Okay.
Before we go any further, I might hand over to CEO Mark.
Before we run through the whole set again, it's a setting of a fees and charge. So fees and charges are ordinary business of council. So if we were doing something other than setting the fees and charge, we're happy to talk to you about it at that point. But as long as we stick to setting of the fees and charges that will go into the fees and charges schedule, it's considered ordinary business. It's effectively part of the budget, so it's ordinary business.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Mark, for making that a little bit clearer for us. Next up, item number 5.1. is the minutes of the Liveability Governance and Finance Standing Committee meeting held on the 10th of May 2023. Do we have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Duff and Councillor Erkins. Any discussion with regards to this? Or this is just moving the minutes, isn't it? Yeah.
Just question, I noted the minutes were from the May meeting. Did we just not endorse them, or it just...
Here's one we prepared earlier. Councillors will recall we did have the issue with the June Standing Committee where lack of quorum, and most of the reports that did require any action were moved on. Anything that was just an information report was published and left in the public domain. But in that, the oversight was when we came to July, we didn't pick up the fact that, of course, the minutes. So it's a catch up from the June meeting. My apologies.
Yeah. Thank you for clearing that up yet again, CEO Mark. Okay, so all those in favour? Unanimous. Against? No. Okay, so item number 5.2 is minutes of the Liveability Governance and Finance Standing Committee meeting held on the 9th of August. Can we have a mover? Councillor Erkins and Councillor Duff. So that the minutes of the Liveability Governance and Finance Standing Committee meeting held on the 9th of August be received and recommendations therein adopted. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Against? None. Okay, we'll go straight on now to item number 6. So item number 6.1, which is the Corporate Governance and Strategy, People and Culture, Communications, Media, Finance and Sustainability, ICT and Business Systems, Community Representation, Advocacy, and the 2032 Olympics and Paralympics Portfolio Report. So that is, and that one's in front of us now. So, and that Acting Mayor Jones, the Corporate Governance and Finance Strategy, People and Culture, yes, so that's under Councillor Jones now at the moment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to present as read exactly the portfolio that you just read out. It's a long-winded portfolio there. So there's all sorts of information there on the website for anybody that has taken the time to watch here this morning. All the councillors would have read through this. So yeah, the media releases that you can see there all the way through August, media inquiries, it's all there for everyone to see. It's not overly exciting report there this morning, but it's there on the website if anyone wants to have a look. So I would like to present as read the portfolio for Corporate Governance Strategy, People and Culture, Communication and Media, Finance and Sustainability, ICT, Business Systems, Community Representation and Advocacy for the 2032 Olympics and Paralympics for the month of September. Thank you very much.
Take a breath. Do we have a mover? Councillor Henson, seconded by Councillor Duff. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. Moved by Councillor Jones. Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Henson. I'm sorry. Okay, so moving on. We've got item number... Oh, hang on. We've all got to vote on that one too. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So all those in favour? Unanimous. Against? None. Now we can move on to item 7.1, which is the Australia Day nominations, and that the committee recommends to Council that 1, the South Burnett Regional Council 2024 nominations form be approved, and that the location of the Australia Day Awards ceremony be held at the wherever on whichever date. So I think this is where we go into a discussion.
Councillor Duff's got a light on, but Chair, if I could, that's all right, if I could jump in. My very first one here in 2019 was Blackbutt, and whilst COVID interrupted with the Blackbutt, there were some discussion at the time about why Blackbutt would go back in, but it's really actually, if you're looking at the cycle, we're up to Mergen, and then we'd start the cycle off again with Blackbutt in 2025, so just if that's of any assistance.
Thank you very much. So, so this is up for discussion. Councillor Shoemaker?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Potter. I certainly don't disagree with the going through the cycle. I think it's a wonderful celebration and that every town has an opportunity. I did just note, going through Cumbia recently, you know, they've done a lot of work to the hall, the roof's been replaced, and I just noted on the list that we haven't actually had a ceremony at Cumbia or Warrulan before, and I wondered if, you know, that might actually be an option for council. I thought the Cumbia community with the streetscape project that we've done, and also, you know, the work to be undertaken with the park, but the new roof on the hall really does look quite exceptional when you go through town. I wondered if we shouldn't look to maybe hosting one there, and certainly don't know the history why we hadn't before. I just wondered if Cumbia might actually be an option, and happy to have discussion about that.
Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. Do we have any other discussions on this one? Councillor Duff?
Oh, thank you, Chair. Oh, yeah, I was going to suggest Blackbutt was postponed, but I can see what CEO Mark has said, but I'm happy to go to Cumbia. I think, and I also was going to put the date of the 21st of January, which would be the Sunday before, the same as we did last time. So, yeah, happy. Yeah, Cumbia's, support having it at Cumbia. I just wonder if you go to Warrulan, and then would you start to get people wanting to go to, you know, Cloyna and those other halls around? Would that, is that going to be an issue, you know, once we start in the villages rather than sticking to the towns, although Proston is regarded as a village, so I'm not really sure. I'm happy to support Cumbia. then, like I'm just suggesting, then when do we go rural, and maybe there's halls at Tablelands, there's halls at Cloyna, there's halls at, you know, in Vellore, there's different halls right around. So just wanting to probably discuss that further.
Councillor Henshin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, look, great suggestion in Cumbria, that's for sure. That being said, I think then across the region, every hall in every village and throughout our region should be considered. I just asked the question, the logistics of holding it in villages' halls or outside, like I'm sure the people of Geelong would love a Australia Day out there as well, but the logistics of putting it out there and getting people to it, I mean, Australia Day is a pretty special day, but it would be disappointing if we went to some facilities where the attitude was, oh, it's too far away, or I'm not going there, that's all. I'd hate to see our Australia Day suffer in the event of just wonderful to support all our villages. I think that's an exceptional idea, but I hope that it doesn't get lost with less participation in the event, because I'd love to see one in Geelong, I'd love to see one in Warrulan. Probably can't have one in Tingura at the moment, we don't have a hall there, but we're working on that. But yeah, just the logistics of it and the fact that they might be a little isolated, and I hope it doesn't detract from the day and not get numbers there to them, that's all. And I might also add, I think Cumbia's not just a new roof, they have a new committee in that hall. And there's a bit happening in that space out at Cumbia with the streetscapes just being completed some time ago, and they're working hard on trying to get a new sports association going there. So there's a bit happening in that space.
Yep. CEO Mark.
The only thing, and again, it was before my time, but certainly from the 2019 ones on, I think I would suspect one of the reasons it wasn't held in the smaller halls, because the event was always held on the eve of Australia Day. So the logistics of having them in the smaller halls and having it on the night before and then getting away would have made, if council's going to continue with the Sunday, it certainly opens up a lot more options. Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Erkins.
I think I think if we bring in too many of those smaller halls, it's just going to get confusing. And while I'm a great advocate for recognising that everybody in our region are equal, I do think perhaps sticking to the major towns would maybe a little easier for organisation and getting people to them. So I think I would probably be more inclined to at this stage. I don't know that I would actually, I understand that also Blackbutt missing out. I don't know that I wouldn't say that we should maybe give them, I know that I was under the impression that Blackbutt was going to get it this year, and we actually changed that because of the fact that Nanango was 175 to help with their celebration. So I wouldn't be against catching up on the Blackbutt one and then going back and starting the Mergen one from there. But again, you know, I'm sort of probably guided by what my fellow councillors believe. But I do, however, feel that the major towns we're probably better to stick to. Otherwise, we're going to be sitting here arguing every year on what hall we should have it at.
Thank you very much. So do we want to do a motion here that we put, so are we looking at Blackbutt or are we looking at Cumbia? Councillor Duff?
Just a question. I'm just thinking about the zoning, like if we just stuck to, so I'm thinking, I know Proston is a village, Cumbia would be regarded as a village. Are the other, like is Warrulan a village, or is it, what's the classification? Because if we just stuck to villages, that might be just towns and villages, that might be enough to draw a line. Yeah, so, sorry? Maidenwell, so that's Maidenwell. I don't know, is Geelong regarded as a village? They're all villages? Okay, all right. So they're not, yeah. I'll leave it to the chamber.
So anywhere that got the large, tall town signs, where it was is a designated village, so Benarkan, yeah, so all those little fellas are villages. But if we just we've got the without new terms, so the new council next year will decide how it wants to do this going forward. But,
Yep.
So if we could just, Chair, get a nomination. So the 21st, has everyone agreed on having it on the Sunday? And just pick a town and we'll go from there.
Yep. Councillor Henson?
Thank you. Couple of things, and take your point, Councillor Erkins, but when you look through that list, perhaps one thing to be considered is that a division gets considered each year, and a town or a village in that division is allocated Australia Day. In Division 6, I'll bring to your attention, and I know useless information that you detest, Councillor Jones, but Division 6 had 7 towns and villages in it. That's exactly right. So Division 6 will push hard in that to try and get an Australia Day in one of those towns or villages, let me assure you. I'd love to see it in Cumbia. I think with what's happened in Cumbia, and look, all the towns have got so much happening. We see that each weekend when we go to events and functions throughout the South Burnett. We cannot possibly get around them all, and yet there's some people in the community wonder what's on, what's to go to, nothing to go to. Well, let me tell you, there's plenty on, as we just experienced this weekend gone, and the same this next weekend. But yes, through you, Madam Chair, I'd like to move a motion that the Cumbia be considered for the Australia Day Awards in 2024. I think it'd be absolutely sensational. It's not far out of Kingaroy. I know I mentioned the logistics of it. I'd like to think Council in time to come could facilitate Australia Day in any hall, in any village or town. But that's for future councils to consider. But I'd like to move a motion, Madam Chair, that Cumbia be considered, or the ceremony for Australia Day be held in the Cumbia Hall on the Sunday. The date, Mr CEO, you've just alluded to, be considered.
Thank you very much. Do we need a seconder straight away? Yeah, can we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Shoemaker? And Councillor Shoemaker, did you want to?
Yeah, just that I think it's a wonderful opportunity for the Cumbia community, being that we've done the streetscape. The hall is looking amazing. They've put an enormous amount of effort into maintaining that hall. And yeah, I do agree. I can see the challenge in trying to get around all villages. I don't know if that should be our goal. I like the idea of trying to get around and across the region and trying to use these halls, because the reality is that, you know, as history serves, all of our early pioneers and settlers of our communities came together to build these halls, and I think it's just a wonderful opportunity to bring a crowd of people to Cumbia and to really celebrate the work that they've been doing. Being that they haven't held one before, I thought it was nice. So I'm fully supportive of the motion.
Rightio, Councillor Henson.
Just one more thing, and I guess being a new committee there, I guess perhaps to be noted that they are willing to facilitate the event on Australia Day on that given Sunday, which I'm sure they would. I can probably find that out before Chambers finishes this meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think there's been enough discussion on this. So we have a recommendation before us, moved by Councillor Henson, seconded by Councillor Shoemaker. The committee recommends to Council that the South Burnett Regional Council 2024 nomination forms be approved and the location of Australia Day Awards ceremony be held at the Cumbia Hall on the 21st of January 2024. All those in favour? Unanimous? Against? No one. Beautiful.
Madam Chair, just while we're on that, can I just, Mr CEO, just guide me here, the MC duties and the role of that? Are we going to continue as exactly the same as last year? I've been approached to give some sort of indication to the person that was involved last year that he has plenty of time to make preparations.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. That's a good question off the cuff. We'll need to pull out the last year was probably a little bit different in organisation and circumstance. So we will pull out, after this is set, if we will pull out, because we have a procedure for Australia Day that we follow. MC, yeah, I mean, we can approach last year's nominee if that is what people feel. There's no real, there's no one that's guaranteed the job without answering that just off the cuff. But yeah, there is a procedure. So we would have last year's winner of the Australia Day Award certainly on the committee, and then there will be a discussion about forming the committee, so the Citizen of the Year. But there is guidance in that procedure that I just don't have in front of me, and so certainly we could bring that procedure back as part of this to the ordinary meeting, and so just, okay, this will be the makeup of the committee, and then we can go from there. But yeah, sorry, Councillor, for rambling a bit, but yeah, just off the top of my head, there's no one guaranteed. So yeah, if we wanted to ask last year's MC, yeah, certainly there would be no reason not to.
Thank you. We'd like to have a discussion there. Well, Councillor Erkins?
I'd be very keen to see us have some discussion at some time about the process for the selection of the awards. You know, I felt that last year we might have, it was a little confusing, so if we can have something a little better in place for the next lot would be great.
Thank you, Councillor Erkins. I think the CEO has noted all of that now, so yes. Okie dokes, next on the list is item number 7.2. Officer's recommendation. The committee recommends to council that the council nominate the following projects for the Flynn Electorate Potential Infrastructure Projects. So there is a bit of background there with regards to that in your, on page 56. So, Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I got approached by Flynn, federal member for Flynn, just wanting some a list of infrastructure priorities for federal funding before the next election. So I just, rather than just doing it off the top of my head, I asked CEO Mark if he would compile a list to bring to the chamber so that we could all have some input into it. And so I'm very happy with the list that CEO Mark has come up with, and just happy to have a discussion around that list. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duff. Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you. I'd also received a call from Colin on Friday just in relation to the work that had been done with the Barlow Weir and West Baramba Dam, and the same request. So it's wonderful that you brought it forward, Councillor Duff. I'm fully supportive of all of the projects that have been listed there. I think they're all very worthy projects, and the advice given was to try to have some low-hanging fruit and then try to have some larger capital projects. I would like to suggest adding the Barlow Weir and the West Baramba Dam to that list, and also I know Graham House is really struggling for drivers at the moment, and that they do an enormous service to the community in terms of taking people down to the hospital. I'm wondering, I know hospital transport is a state issue, but I'm wondering if there may be an opportunity to put forward and ask, like on behalf of Graham House, I don't know what it would look like, just in terms of some funding to help them actually employ a couple of drivers. It's just an idea, but I think it's something that is worth exploring.
Through you, Acting Chair, they're not in Flynn. So West Baramba and Graham House, and Barlow Weir's like on, I don't think it's in Flynn. I think that it's Lou O'Brien. But I mean, Ken's been lobbied for, and Ken and now Colin, but I think it's actually all in Wide Bay, but in, yeah.
I still think that collaborative effort, because the former member, Ken O'Dowd, did actually advocate for those issues. I don't think it hurts to actually go on the list.
True, I think maybe Barley or Weir, because it's right on the boundary, but I think the other two probably you'd have to leave them out, because they won't want to advocate when there's a whole heap of other stuff in Flynn.
Okay. So that being the case, just wondering then, shall we move separate motions for each of our federal members, or we'd had that workshop where we'd sort of discussed all of our priorities. How would you like to run this, CEO Mark?
Okay, yeah, it's generally with these sorts of requests, it's by invitation of the member. And I was, yeah, with Councillor Duff, the reason we sort of stuck to that list was to keep it as projects that we thought would be almost totally in Flynn.
Yeah.
So with the other two, so Barlil, we could certainly, with Ken's advocacy in the past, we could certainly chuck Barlil on there. And that list is, as we're still putting them together, I've got actually the first draft of the community plans, and we're populating, but there's a bit in them. This has been pulled out of the potential advocacy document that we've come. So it's from the whiteboard and the other projects that have been listed. So, it's going along well. Draft stage at the minute, or early draft stage at the minute, but it's going along, and so we're able to pull. So if we get these requests, we're able to pull these sorts of projects out and put them forward. But yeah, Barlil, regrettably, I think we'd have to either talk to the member for Wide Bay if we were to put the other two in before we move them.
Yes. Well, I'm fully supportive of that. I just think all the irrigators, growers and people in that area are very supportive of those projects, and coming up to the federal election and the review of the infrastructure pipeline, they have to be on our lists. So I will be advocating hard for that, and certainly think the Barlow Weir should absolutely be on there. Would have liked to have thought that a collaborative advocacy approach from the member for Flynn and Wide Bay would be possible, being that all of the constituents in both of their areas would benefit from these projects, but certainly understand the sentiment given by council. So I think the advocacy plan is really important, and yes, I would actually like to see us write to all of our federal members and ask with the same sort of wish list, because they're all doing the same process.
Can I ask how many are we allowed to put down? So
The only limitation is depending on the level of details that we've got fortnight, so we can bring them back and get rough costings against them. So if that Barlil we've got, so if we took that list plus Barlil, that's pretty much close to capacity for what would be able to be done in the time period we've been given.
Okay.
Yeah.
Councillor Erkins?
I thought maybe to the other members, we could write to them pointing out that we had received communications from the Minister for Flynn and asking, are they interested in our what we would like to put forward, give them an opportunity to come back, pointing out that we've already had. So let's point that out. Yep, thanks.
Thank you very much. So, CEO Mark, so the recommendation is to put all of those, including Barlil Weir, on the list. Okay. DAR, it's LIL. IL. No, there's no A. LIL. Sorry. Is that correct? The AR, yeah. So we've got the note that council nominate the following projects. The committee recommends to council that council nominate the following projects for the Flynn electorate potential infrastructure projects. We've got the Barlil Weir, we've got Mundubra Jurong Road, the Proston Bunduma Road, Memorandum Gordon Brook Road, footpath improvements for Proston and Hivesville, Wanda Industrial Estate Stage 2 works, parks and recreational facility upgrades for Proston, Hivesville, Tangura and Wandai, drainage improvements in Tangura and tourism signage. So, do we have a mover for that?
Yes.
Councillor Duff? Yep.
Thank you. I just, with that, it actually says council's requested to supply a list of priority projects in the South Bend which are in the Flynn electorate, including a description of each project, the amount of funding sought, total project cost and expected timing. So I think that we just with the barley, we just need to put not in Flynn, just advocacy role, because otherwise, I mean, the politicians are always, you know, strapped for time, and if they didn't do their research, he could make a mistake and just think that we had put barley or weir in because we believed it was in Flynn. I just note that it's an advocacy role only, and then we can, because I agree with Councillor Shoemaker, it needs to be advocated for, but I don't want to cause confusion, because I know there is confusion about the boundaries, and barley or weir just happens to be in Wide Bay, so just wanted to just flag that. That was all. Thank you. But happy to support the projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duff. Do we have a seconder for this? Councillor Duff, thank you, Councillor Jones. Moved Councillor Duff, seconded Councillor Jones. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, this whole list will be added to this before the end of the meeting anyway. So if there's no further discussion on this one, we might put this one to the vote. So that the committee recommends to council, the council will nominate the following projects for the Flynn electorate potential infrastructure projects in the list as per the minutes, as per on the agenda. Thanks, Councillor Duff. So is all those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Against? No one. Okay, we move on to item 8.1. which is right in front of us. For those of you that need to know the page number, it's page number 57. Now, we have in front of us that the committee recommends to council. The council approves the recommendation to establish a 12-month supply arrangement for high visibility field uniforms with safety quip. Now, do we have a mover for this one? Councillor Henson. Do we have a seconder? Don't have a seconder. Councillor Jones, thank you very much. Okay, discussion on this one? Councillor Shoemaker.
Thank you, Councillor Potter. Just note in the report that we were given the post-market recommendation report, but we weren't actually given the assessment report in the council report. And prior to making this decision, I'd really like to see the actual full assessment that was undertaken of this one. So my thinking was to lay it on the table until the general when that report could be provided. But that would be my proposal, and happy to discuss either which way.
Thank you. Councillor Erkins?
Yeah, being a little unfamiliar with how this is actually done, I would probably like to see a little more information on it as well. Okay, so CEO Mark, some more information regarding this. So do we, Louise is here, so did we want to hear from Louise? I think we might. Louise, did you want to add some more info to that one? Thank you.
Yeah, look, excuse me. The assessment can easily be provided. That's not a problem at all. We generally don't provide the actual scoring in the assessments for being commercial in confidence type rulings. But otherwise, the assessment was undertaken by 2 procurement staff and a external from HR, so Workplace Health and Safety also undertook an assessment as an objective perspective. So we scored them appropriately in accordance with the weightings that were applied. It was a very, very, very close call, without a doubt. Assessments were considered on price being one of the heaviest weightings and locality being the second heaviest weighting for council. Like I said, it was a very close call, and decisions were made on the assessment based on the previous experience and availability and serviceability of the contract in place. We do tender for it every 12 months anyway to provide locals the opportunity to be able to tender each. It's not a long-term contract, so we like to be able to refresh that annually. So yes, the assessment was a tough one this time, actually. Yeah, more than happy to provide that for the general if you like, but it'll probably be in the confidential section.
Can I ask a question before we go to the other councillors? Are any of these, I sort of couldn't see it here, but are any of these local?
So there was 5 submissions received, 3 were non-local and 2 were local.
Thank you. Councillor Duff.
Thank you, through you, Chair. So from what I read of the report, Safety Equip and CA Design and Print, which is the local company, both rated the same score. And then because of considerable previous industry experience and ability to supply, that Safety Equip was then put ahead. So, but I'm keen to see us look at CA Design and Print being the local company because they rated level. But I mean, if you want them to get the industry experience and all of those things, we need to start to support our local businesses, and then once they start to realise that you know they're in the game and got an opportunity, well then they can advance. But just to go to some other company because, and I understand that you're wanting to get like sort of things happening quickly and all of those things. I think we need to walk the talk and be prepared to take a chance on a local business. So I'm absolutely supporting that we go with CA Design and Print. So that's my my thoughts.
Thank you, Councillor Duff. Councillor Erkins?
That's probably why I would like to see some more information or talk a little bit. I also, supporting local is, pretty high on my priority list. So I'd like to, I understand we don't want to go there if they're not going to be able to supply, but I'd probably like a little more information on that. Yeah, I know cost. Yep.
Thank you. Councillor Shoemaker?
Yes, I would really like to see the assessment report. I agree with the sentiment of the chamber. Country Design and Print and CA Design and Print and Safety Equip rank the same, and I understand the recommendation provided, but I would like to see that actual assessment when it comes to price and things, because it's obviously exceptionally close, and Uniform Zone was only 2 scores behind. I know it's only a $45,000 annual spend, but for our local guys, it's a big deal. It's a lot of money. So I would like to move a procedural motion that the matter lay on the table until the assessment report be provided.
Okay.
And for discussion at the general meeting.
Thank you very much. So we've got a procedural motion on the table, procedural motion that the matter lay on the table until the next council meeting. Is that the next general meeting?
It's a question, time sensitivity of this?
We've already extended our agreement with the incumbent supplier, so there's no issues there.
Okay, no, I'm just wondering if it's best to come back to the next committee because if for the month, just saying if we need to move it into anyway, yeah, ordinary, we can do ordinary. Yeah, I'm just timing that. Okay, ordinary's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. I just
thank you
need to
very
remove the committee recommends to council because we've got a live recommendation that's moved and seconded, so we'll need to deal with that and then, anyway, yeah, we'll work out the mechanics of it. Yeah.
Okay, so what am I doing first then? I'm doing so I need a seconder for the procedural motion. Councillor Erkins. Okay, so the committee recommends, no it doesn't recommend to council, does it? That the matter lay on the table until the September ordinary meeting. All those in favour? Unanimous. Yes. Sorry, Councillor Jones, I didn't actually see your light on. Okay, so moving right along. Now that I've totally ignored Councillor Jones, I'm sorry. We'll go to item number 9. We've got item number 9.1, and that the committee recommends to council that the 2023-24 fees and charges amended to remove the $10 fee for copy of rates water notices other than for current financial year. Do we have a mover? Councillor Henson. Do we seconder? Councillor Duff. Do we want to discuss this one? We don't want to discuss this one, so we're ready to move straight to the vote. So all those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Against? Nobody. Beautiful. Okay, so moving right along, we have item number 10.1, which is my Community Development, Arts and Heritage Library Services Portfolio Report. And I would actually like to move my report as read. So I will move that. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Duff. There is a fair bit of information there with a few pictures, so please have a look. But yeah, we'll move that as read. So all those in favour? Oh, do we have, sorry. Yes, Councillor Shoemaker.
Just, oh, no, there's another item about it.
Thank you. Councillor Erkins.
I'd like to congratulate you and the staff on the library staff on the book week. That was, I attended the one in Anango, and I've seen the photos of the other ones, and unfortunately, once again, I've got my costume, but for next year. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We're very lucky that Councillor Duff came as Pinkalicious, apparently. So, Councillor Duff, you had your light on?
Yeah, I just want, congratulations on the library. The library book week was great. Just wanted to also say that Graham House was looking for volunteers, particularly around Kingaroy, and they asked me to put a post on my Facebook page, and I got a message. I actually was contacted by Graham House that they have been inundated with support, and they've got like a number of volunteers just lately with that one Facebook post that I put up. So I was really pleased to hear that from them. And then the other one I just wanted to say was thank you to the library staff for going out to the Proston Centenary, but I also wondered whether the library staff would be interested in participating in the street parade with a float. Maybe just, even just march along and, with some books and something, just be part of that as well.
Councillor Duff, we can only ask.
Okay, all right, that was all.
So yeah, so I'll actually leave that with probably GM. Yeah, it's been noted now. Anyway, Councillor Erkins, you still have your light on?
Just to draw attention to the Kingaroy Youth Council to start with, but just if anyone's interested in going through the matters for discussion on the agenda of the Kingaroy Youth Engagement Centre and then down to the discussion, it's quite interesting to read some of the comments that came there from the Youth Council and to understand how, I would say that they would be a fair representation of the youth in our area. It's quite interesting to read that. And just a little furthermore to Councillor Duff's question about the library with the float, I thought maybe the councillors could do a float in the Proston. We could do a road tour float for the Proston Centenary celebration. So that's a challenge to councillors.
Thank you very much, Councillor Erkins. I'm trying to get excited. No, sorry about that. So we've got the motion in front of us that the Council of Potter's Community Development, Arts, Heritage, Library Services Portfolio Report be received for information. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Duff. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Against? No one. Beautiful. Okay, so next up we have item number 10.2, which is that the Community and Lifestyle Operational Report update be received. Do we have a mover? Councillor Erkins, do we have a seconder? Councillor Duff, thank you very much. Now, questions or comments with regards to this one? No questions or comments. Councillor Duff.
I just wanted to say that I believe that the Wandai Heritage Museum, that open day was fantastic. I know they were worried about getting numbers, but they were inundated with people, and that was fantastic, great success. And I also just wanted to congratulate the Kingaroy Visitor Information Centre volunteers, because I went there one day to pick up some stuff, and they were just redoing all of their the way that just restructuring the area, and they were so excited about it. They wanted me to take photos and put it on my Facebook, and just they had so much pride in what they were doing, and they just loved their work, and they were the volunteers there. So just wanted to just say it's great to see volunteers with so much pride in what they do.
Thank you very much, Councillor Duff, and yes, that's very true. So right now, the motion in front of us that the community and lifestyle operational update be received. Oh, sorry, Councillor Duff.
I just also wanted to ask, with the Visit South Burnett, they're asking for membership renewal, and that's all in this report. Just wanting to know, were we going to have Visit South Burnett come into the chamber for a presentation? Just wondering what's happening with that.
CEO Mark?
Yeah, yes, and date to be organised. So we're trying to get, well, yeah, we need to get that finalised and get everyone together. So yeah, yes.
Thank you. Sorry, Acting Chair.
No, you're right. Thank you very much, Councillor Duff. So as if there's no other questions or comments, Councillor Duff?
Sorry. I just wanted to also flag that it'll be before our next council, or it's around that time. The 55 million years ago centre is opening on the 2nd of October. So just wanted to flag that, because that's on that Monday of the King's birthday weekend. And I know that the Leo Garrity and Glenda, and they're very excited about the opening, and so I'm hoping that all the councillors can get there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Duff. That actually should be a really exciting time, that one. That's an incredible place. So I think it's going to get a lot of attention from tourism. Councillor Henshin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, look, certainly will be, but it's just a little disappointing. That's a long weekend, and people will go away on long weekends, so it will clash with a lot of people not being in the area. Yeah, as much as it's a great thing, that Monday, as we know, long weekends and that time of the year, I'm sure it will detract a little bit from the numbers that may go to it.
Yeah, I agree, but I think that's the only weekend we could get the member up for that opening, isn't that, Councillor Duff?
Through you, Chair, yes, absolutely. That was the only date that Lou O'Brien was available. So they've tried to get a date for him to come, and that was what they had to finally agree to.
Thank you very much. So if there's any further questions or comments with regards to this? Okay, so we might move right along. That the committee, we've got moved by Councillor Erkin, seconded by Councillor Duff, that the community and lifestyle operational update be received. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Against? Beautiful. So the next one in the list is item number 10.3, which is the Arts, Culture and Heritage Advisory Committee, and that the committee recommends to Council that the membership for the following members for the Arts, Culture and Heritage Advisory Committee be extended until the 31st of December 2023. I would like to move that, please. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Duff. Just to fill you in on this one, because when we started the Arts, Culture and Heritage Advisory Committee, we actually didn't get going for quite a bit. So we really do need these guys so they can look at all the information, and we're working on the Arts, Culture and Heritage strategy at the moment. So with what we're working on now, and with regards to the community the community grants and everything like that, which come out, I think, in September. Is that Jen? August? Yeah.
Through the chair.
Well, they've finished now, so we've got to look at them anyway. So, and we just need this moved. So it is extended because until until the end of December this year. Councillor Erkins? Oh, it's already been moved. Yeah. Okie doke. So if there's no further discussion, if there's no questions or discussion on this one, we might put this one to the vote, that the committee recommends to council that the membership for the following members for the Arts, Culture and Heritage Advisory Committee be extended until the 31st December 23, as on the list in front of you. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much. No one against. Okay, so we move on to item number 11.1. So we've got the officer's recommendation in front of you that the committee recommend to council that the coordinator of community development liaise with CTC and council's regional librarian and youth council to formulate a 12-month youth focused program to commence on April 2024 to seek, and then number 2, to seek grant funding to deliver the program to the community. So that's in front of us. Councillor Duff, did you want to move that one? A seconder? Councillor Shoemaker, thank you very much. So we'll put this one out to discussion. Councillor Duff?
I just wanted to support this 100% because if you look at their discussion on the Kingaroy Youth Engagement Centre on page 69 in the agenda, it talks about they weren't keen on a centre in the town. They were keen on more of a travelling mobile van to get right around the region. So this, if we support them in funding opportunity to seek grant funding to deliver a program, that's more in line with what their thoughts were if you look at all their feedback on that particular item. So I'm really keen to support this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Duff. Any other questions or comments with regards to this one? Councillor Shoemaker?
Yeah, I just wanted to note, I certainly went over the feedback that the Youth Council had provided in relation to this item in those minutes in your report, Councillor Duff, Councillor Potter, and it was really, really interesting, some of the sentiments around the skate park and some of the facilities that they would and wouldn't use, and the way in which they spoke about how there's some great programs going, but often they don't know until they're over that they've happened, or they're not sure how to access transport, can't access transport to access them. So I really like this approach, a real collaborative approach. I know that was the approach we had tried to take when we actually went for the Safer Communities funding, which is the funding that CTC currently has to deliver some of these programs. I think my question was more around just in that discussion, it would be good, once we sort of applied for that funding in partnership with CTC, we haven't really seen, like, other than lots of amazing events happening, any information or like a report come back about, you know, the program itself, what it's delivered, success. I know that's likely to happen with the acquittal, and I guess my question was just, you know, is it possible? I'd be really interested just to understand sort of what has been delivered these last couple of years, and then, you know, where the real value has been, and how that informs the next plan, because I think that sort of learning and conversation is really, really important, and particularly I think a lot has changed over this last 4 years since COVID. You know, when we first started applying for that money, we were in COVID times. I think the youth crime instances and, you know, the whole range of social themes, I think it's really valuable timing to really take a deep dive and look at what we've done and look at where we want to be and how we might be able to achieve it. So yeah, I guess just leaning in, really keen to get some more information. Also very keen to have a look at those skate parks, and I guess just tucking that feedback that the Youth Council has provided in our back pockets, because I think it's really pertinent as to where our youth currently are and their thoughts on our facilities and our services. So really appreciate the work that's happened and look forward to more information about that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Shoemaker. And the other thing is, when we had the Youth Council do the meet and greet last night, they also discussed a few things, and one of them was Instagram. They don't use Facebook. Apparently that's not for the youth. And I'm just wondering whether through you, CEO Mark, whether it's possible that, I know Council's already got an Instagram page, whether we can start doing something there with the youth, or putting more youth stuff up there, or maybe a separate one, an offshoot one for the South Bennett youth.
Yeah, we hold a number of accounts, and yeah, certainly discussion, but the library material that goes to the library pages as well. So it was a really good presentation last night, and some certainly interesting feedback, and was good to hear them straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. But yeah, no, happy for, certainly I'll discuss it. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments with regards to this one? Jen, did you, sorry, Manager Poynton, did you want to talk to this one at all, or?
No, I'm fairly comfortable with the discussion, and I think everything's in the report, and I've just noted Councillor Shoemaker's feedback.
Thank you very much. So if there's no further questions or comments, so it's been moved by Councillor Duff, seconded by Councillor Shoemaker, that the committee recommends to Council that the Coordinator of Community Development Services liaise with CTC Incorporated and Council's Regional Librarian and Youth Council to formulate a 12-month youth-focused program to commence on April 2024. And number 2, to seek grant funding to deliver the program into the community. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everyone. No one against. Beautiful.
Chair, may I interrupt? Just would like to acknowledge, and may I suggest we break for morning tea. We've got a special guest this morning, Ron Roberts. Ron has previously, I won't steal Ron's thunder. He's a very, can I say, colourful career. Amazing guy to talk to, and Ron has very kindly donated a collection of military history books to Council, and so Ron's come in to join us for morning tea this morning for the presentation of these books. And if I may, they are an absolute treasure, and they will be cherished by this Council so that this history is not lost. And yeah, if we may break for morning tea, and we'll do the presentations, and Ron will join us for a cuppa.
Beautiful. We've already got a hand up there to break for morning tea, as usual, Councillor Henshin. So, so it's moved by Councillor Henshin that we break for morning tea. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Jones. All those in favour? Unanimous. Beautiful. So. Thank you very much. So welcome back again to everyone, whether you're online and listening to this or here in person. We need to move now that the meeting be resumed. We've got a mover. I'll move, and then we've got Councillor Henshin to second that one. Okay, all those in favour? Unanimous. I probably should mention here that Councillor Jones, the Acting Mayor Councillor Jones, has had to leave because we all got the invite for the opening of the midwifery clinic in Kingaroy, but Councillor Jones is going there to represent us as South Bennett Regional Council, so we thank him for that. So we've just noted that he's out at the moment. Hopefully he'll be back shortly. So next up on the list is item number 11.2. So the officer's recommendation there is that the committee recommends to Council, it's quite a large one, that the South Bennett Regional Council resolves that the exception in local government regulation 2012, section 236 1B, is that 1B1? Applies for its disposal by grant of trustee lease to the valuable non-current asset which is part of the land compromising of part of Lot 1 on CP 904146 to the Return Services League of Australia, Queensland Branch, Wondai Sub-Branch. the South Burnett Regional Council delegates to the Chief Executive Officer the power to negotiate, finalise and execute the trustee lease between the Council and Return Services League of Australia, Queensland Branch, Bondi Sub-Branch Incorporated, on terms and conditions the Chief Executive Officer reasonably considers satisfactory to Council. And item number 3 is that the Council provides to the Return Services League of Australia, Queensland Branch, Bondi Sub-Branch Incorporated, the association, a letter of landowners' consent to apply for grant funding to develop a community memorial park, provided that all planning applications, if required, are sought to approved grant prior to the commencement of work. The association holds a $20 million public liability and volunteer worker insurance and or work cover policy for the project period. All works must be carried out by suitably qualified and experienced contractor who must provide to the association copies of licences, work safe method statements and or risk assessments to undertake the works. All works must be located within the boundary of the proposed trustee lease. There's a lot more now. So all relevant legislation and regulators are adhered to, including those relevant to vegetation protection, cultural heritage and native title legislation. Arrangements are to be put in place to mitigate nuisance and dust to neighbouring residents during the works. The association will be responsible for the disposal of all rubbish and waste materials from site and any commercial industrial tipping fees. The association will be responsible for the ongoing maintenance of the Memorial Park, and upon termination of the trustee lease, the association must return the site to its original condition prior to the commencement of the lease. And number 4, last one, South Burnett Regional Council approved the extension of the Wando Memorial Pool for inclusion of a community gym facility. Right, do we have Councillor Duff to move? Do we have a seconder? Councillor Shoemaker, thank you very much. We'll open this up for discussion. Councillor Duff.
I'm very happy to move this. I was only on Monday asked by Neil Burrows what was happening with it, and it's great that the manager Leanne was able to let me know that the report was coming to this meeting. So it's they're really excited. They've got lots of plans, hopes and dreams for that area, and also I'm pleased to see that the dot point number 4, the South Burnett Regional Council approved the extension of the Wando Memorial Pool for inclusion, the community gym facility. So that's the pool. Natalie and her committee there are really keen to get that happening, and that gym will be hopefully that I think they're going to apply for a grant for that one. And yeah, so it's all happening there in that space, and it's fantastic to see that that space there will be so well utilised. I'm really keen to support this.
Thank you, Councillor Duff. Councillor Shoemaker?
Yeah, fully agree with the motion. I just wanted to, and fully support the proposal. I've met both with the RSL and with the pool operator, and there's, both have got such a vision for that area, which is really exciting. So really looking forward to seeing that come to fruition. Also note the amazing work that the pool is doing for young people around Bondi, which is really admirable. And I've seen that firsthand in my many visits to the pool with my own children. Just wanted to check, I just see in the report that there is an estimation we're going to have to move I think is it the pool fence, and that the cost of that is estimated to be $22,000 odd, and I know we don't have a budget for that allocation. So I just wanted to understand, is that something we've marked out the land, but would happen at the time when the gym application's received, or just wanted to better understand what that looks like for council.
Yep, through the chair to councillor, most definitely we think at this stage it's important just to highlight that there is a cost to move the fence and extend it out. But at this stage, I would see that to be part of part of the project design for the extension of the actual community gym facility, and that entire project would form part of that. And at the moment, we think that the current fence is fine to stay where it is, and the RSL can move on with their project. We'll just survey it out and make it clear where those boundary lines are. And from a maintenance point of view, it'll just continue to be maintained as parkland as it is now, until we actually get that project progressing. And it's going to take some time to work with the Wandai Swimming Club and the pool manager to, secure funding for the design and then probably the construction at a later date for that gym facility, but certainly a huge need for the community.
Fantastic. Really supportive of the recommendation as it stands, and just like to acknowledge the work that's gone in. Really looking forward to seeing what the RSL have create with the space. I know they've got an amazing plan, so it will be really something. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Shoemaker. Councillor Henshin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, look, great result. Just a question, I suppose, and this has been in chambers now for quite some time. We've discussed this and that piece of land. Great result for the RSL and a great result for the swimming pool. And certainly Nat does a great job there, as does the RSL. But in relation to the fence, and the conversation's been had before on that western side, albeit the northern side of the fencing, I would imagine that gates, be those access gates, be it a man gate and or vehicle access gates, would be incorporated in that fence. It would be a shame to have a fence there and have no access in that facility. Yeah, thank you.
Yep, through you, Chair. Yes, most definitely. We would want to maintain access in that corner up the top there and direct access onto the rail trail with all the events that's happening on the rail trail and for future marathons, triathlons, that sort of thing. They all want to access the pool straight off the rail trail and in through a set of gates. So, yep, happy to include that.
Thank you very much. If there's no further questions or comments with regards to this particular motion, I'm not going to read the whole motion. It just moved by Councillor Duff, I think it was. Yep, seconded by Councillor Shoemaker. The committee recommends to Council that the motion is read. So all those in favour? Unanimous. Against? No one. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, so next one is item number 12.1, and it's the officer's recommendation. So the committee recommends to Council that the Christmas tree garland and new decorations be purchased and a budget of $57,000 be provided from the 23-24 building asset restricted cash. Do we have a mover? Councillor Duff, a seconder? Councillor Erkins, thank you very much. Discussions, Councillor Duff?
Through you, Chair, just wanted to know a couple of questions. What will Cumbia get? Because we're saying that tree location has not been decided for Cumbia. So, yeah, I'm just hoping that Cumbia doesn't miss out on having a tree somewhere, and will they have some decorations? And the second question was, the Mergen tree, is it going to be a different tree to the one they had last year? Because I know that they weren't happy with the tree. It seemed like a second-hand tree. So have we got a new one from Mergen? There were two questions. Thank you.
Yes, so there is, firstly, the answer to the question number one about Cumbia Christmas tree. Since we're out there working with the community at the moment through the community consultation with the park, with Apex Park and the sports ground, what we've discussed with the members in Cumbia is that we actually go through that master planning and identify an appropriate location for the Christmas tree. When we met some time ago and had a look at a site in close proximity to the hall, the location that we've identified is directly under a power line. So it fits the site in terms of its great location to be visually seen by the road, and it's great for their Christmas carnival, but it doesn't actually work when you get out there and have a look at the structure and how close it is to the building. So that is no longer an option. And yeah, so we're suggesting let's carry on with the community consultation and identify a new location for the Christmas tree. So it could be that it's in Apex Park, or it could be down at the sports ground, or maybe somewhere else. So let that be discussed and we identify a suitable location. And in the meantime, Cumbia already decorates an existing tree that's already planted and is of quite large height in the actual church grounds, and we're happy to continue to decorate that this year so they don't miss out on a tree. It's just that the new tree, we haven't really got a suitable location for it. And they were, the general feedback that we received on this particular evening was, let's not rush into it. Let's do the master planning and find that ideal location. So that was the answer to the Cumbria question. The question for Mergen is the tree that was utilised up at Mergen last year was actually from Blackbutt. That tree will be returned to Blackbutt, and a new tree has been built for Mergen, and the new garland and new decorations that we're proposing in this report would be purchased for one of the trees will be Mergen.
Thank you. Yeah. So, just through you, Acting Chair. So the Blackbutt tree, then, that's the same one? Because it seemed like it was put together, like the way that the Mergen community described it wasn't sort of like a really ideal, like it wasn't a beautiful tree. It looked good once it was decorated, but it seemed like it was like two trees put together. And I'm just wondering, are the Blackbutt people, is that the tree that they've always had? Are they going to be happy with that tree? I'm just, because I know the Mergen people weren't, so I'm just wondering where to with the Blackbutt people.
Yes, so what the problem is the garland. What happens is when you put a tree together is you're installing all this garland from top to bottom, so it goes in sections. And if you don't have enough garland, which is the greenery, the fill, it looks, it doesn't look as good as it should. And there's probably some gaps in there and stuff. So the idea would be with the Christmas trees, just because of cost, our suggestion would be that some of the garland that we've got left over from some of the older trees, that we would move that to the Blackbutt tree as well and get that filling so you don't have those gaps. And some of the additional decorations that we're proposing in the budget to be purchased, it'll have some new fresh decorations to marry in with that. We've just got to understand that garland and decorations, even though it's only used for a short period of time, it doesn't last forever. So we'll only probably get 4 or 5 years out of the garland and decorations, and then you've got to reinvest and purchase again. So the steel frames will be perfect for 20 or 30 years, but you're going to always have to refresh your garland and decorations. In this case, we're lucky enough that we've got the structure, so we're able to purchase the garland and the decorations and capitalise the whole asset together. But in future, we're going to have to nominate some operational funds every 4 or 5 years to replace and refresh your decorations. Unfortunately, decorations cost a lot of money. I was very, very surprised with this costing. We thought we would be able to originally, I think we spoke to you 6 to 8 months ago, it would cost around about $30,000, but once we've gone out and got quotations and new information, you can see that what the cost is going to be. And the problem for our Christmas decorations across the region, we do not have enough funding to actually replace some of your banners and some of your other decorations that you've got across the region as well. So I think it's about bedding down the Christmas trees, making them look beautiful for this year, and look at how do we fund future decorations going forward, because it's a massive cost for the region, and I have not ever seen any sort of funding opportunities out there where people want to fund Christmas decorations. So yeah, unfortunately it is what it is, but yes, we will make the Blackbutt Christmas tree a lot more presentable this year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Councillor Henson.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Chair. Yeah, and Manager Peterson's probably just said everything I was about to say, but bring to the attention that, as I said before, the Cumbria Hall has a new committee there. There's conversations around the kindergarten building in Cumbria as well in relation to the sporting facility or association. They're trying to get up and going there. And yes, previously a tree was decorated in the churchyard there, which is adjacent or right beside the Cumbria Hall. If that can be used for this year, that will be you know, the locals have expressed that they're happy with that. That's been what they've had there for a long, long time. Where it was positioned was not, and I know we've had meetings there, where it was originally to be installed is, in my opinion, not ideally suited, so I think we can come up with a better result there. Just a question, happy to take it on notice. What stage is council looking at erecting these Christmas trees? Because in my personal opinion, I think it's a little frustrating that we see Christmas is already advertised out in the streets and the stores, and it becomes extremely commercialised to have Christmas stuff in stores in August, September is just, in my opinion, ridiculous. For 6 months, I mean, Christmas is a marvellous thing, but it's I think detracting a little bit from the exact meaning of Christmas, and that's in December that we know. So do we have a time frame when this is going to happen, trusting that it's not going to be this month or next month?
Thank you for your question through you, Madam Chair. What we will be doing is certainly having a look at the Christmas Carnival dates and seeing what dates are proposed for them and getting them locked in. Then what we do is work back from there to decide and to ensure that the Christmas trees are definitely installed before the Christmas carnivals. What we aim for is the first week in November. And we have to actually, believe it or not, get in early and book the cherry pickers and some of the equipment that we hire from our local suppliers because obviously they are booked out and in high demand. So we're keen to lock them in for the last week probably of October and the first week of November, so we can ensure that our Christmas trees can be installed and decorated. And that's one of the issues that we ran into a little bit last year, is that some of the equipment that we use wasn't available. So we've learnt our lesson from that, and this year we'll make sure that that is booked in early. The reason why we want to bed this report down and the budget is because we'd like to purchase the garland now to ensure that arrives in time, and also the footings are commencing in the coming weeks for the new trees as well. So we're all in order for the new festive season with our trees.
And sorry, Councillor Erkins, but just quickly on that, I recall last year, and I'm sure my colleagues would remember, we had a report come that stated the community were asking just that question, and I'm sure this year when it comes that we can do a similar thing, so people are aware that when the Christmas tree is going up in Mergen, Blackbutt and Cumbria, there's a schedule for that. And yeah, look, fully supportive of this, because I'd hate to see with the commercialisation of Christmas, you go to buy them and everything's been sold. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Erkins.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. I was actually hoping that the Christmas tree that they didn't want in Mergen was available for Nanango. While Nanango's tree is fabulous, right in the main street, it's not actually very suitable for our Christmas carnival, which is never held anywhere near the main street. So I just wondered if at any time there are any bits left over that we can sort of work with you to get something for, that we can put up at our Christmas carnival. It doesn't have to be big. One of the other things with the garlands, I know that they do deteriorate very quickly with the sun. I just wonder whether there wasn't an opportunity. I know I went, and because we've got those big steel, whether there's any way we can look at putting lights on them rather than the decorations, because I seen one in Kilcoy, and it was a steel structure, but it had all lights. So during the day it didn't look, it didn't look so good, but at night time it just looked really, really lovely. So I just wondered whether maybe sometime we can have a little bit of a practice, even with just a little section of the tree, to put the lights on it and see what they do look like. But if there is at any time any leftover bits that we can maybe utilise for a tree that's possible for us to put up in whichever park we decide that our Nanango Christmas Carnival is going at, that would be really great, because it is as I said, in the main street, it's great. People come down the street. Probably the earlier the better for Nanango, you know, with the trees going up, because I know last year there was an issue and it was sort of nearly Christmas Day. And probably one of the things that I always find a little annoying is we're always so late in taking them down. You know, ours didn't go up until just before Christmas, but it went down, you know, it was pretty late before it went down. So if we can sort of try and work, I understand the booking, and I know it's not a matter of just picking it up and throwing it in the cupboard. So if we can look at that, that would be great. Thanks.
If only we could just pick it up and throw it in the cupboard. That'd be great. Make life a lot easier and cheaper. Councillor Shoemaker.
Yeah, thank you. My concern is around the budget, and particularly because we'll be pulling money out of the building assets restricted cash, which my understanding is that that bucket of money really is for our buildings. And I wondered, looking at the budget and the report, and I know this has been a long-standing conversation. I've learned so much about Christmas trees during this term of council. I wondered, as I'm sure we all have, being that we're not going to use the Cumbia tree this year, is it an option to, or have we, my question is, have we purchased the garland for Cumbia? No. Could we perhaps divert the funds for the garland Cumbia to help with this spend on decorations, and then look to budget for garland in the next operational budget, which I know will be made by our next council? But you know, I can see the garland, 67 metres of garland was $19,000. I'm just, and my other question was, that was one of my thoughts in terms of addressing this, and my other question was, and I know we had some backlash when we tried to recycle items last year, but I wondered, have we done an audit? Are we absolutely sure there's nothing that we could possibly recycle or use to get us through this year? Thanks, Manager Leanne.
Through you, Madam Chair, thank you for the question. The total cost for the garland and the decorations across all the trees, including Cumbia, would be actually $80,000. We're proposing in the report not to fund Cumbia. No decorations for Cumbia, no new decorations or garland for Cumbia. So the total cost we're proposing is $57,000. So that would give us new garland and some decorations across some of the trees. So you can see that there's a table of the breakdown of the Pacific sites. So Cumbia's would be deferred to next financial year. We definitely have undertaken an audit and sorted through the decorations to have a look at just exactly what we have got, what we could reuse. We've even tried whether or not we could repaint some of those decorations and see whether or not the paint would hold on the surface of those decorations. Very time-consuming process to actually redo that. So yes, our suggestion would be not to do that for everything. We would suggest purchasing some new stuff for this lot of Christmas trees and just refresh and remove those ones that have deteriorated from our piles. And yeah, there'll be a combination of some new fresh ones plus the reuse of some bows and some candy canes and a few things that look reasonably okay. We're going to continue to use them. So yes, we have had a good look at it, and unfortunately this is the best we could probably do at this stage.
Just one further question. Sorry, I realised I was writing on this last night. I've put a big circle around the 57,000 and crossed out the wording in the report about the Cumbia issue. So thank you for confirming that. So the buildings and communities restricted cash. So I just want to understand the table on 112. So at the moment we're already using 57,000 $55,000 out of the restricted cash already for projects out of the 125,000. Have I got that right? So there's 70,000 left, and we'll be using 57,000 of that 70,000. So we're really going to draw down that fund to very little. And we're not, in terms of depreciation, like that building asset replacement fund, is that replenished when we sell land and those sorts of things, or no? No. So depreciation is for the buildings that we allocate every year from our capital budget. So the building asset replacement, we're really not putting any more money into that fund, and we'll be drawing it down. I certainly understand the importance of Christmas trees and the work that we've done, and I think we're way too far down this path to sort of not do it. But yeah, I am very worried about that at this stage. Thanks for the report.
Councillor Duff.
Just some questions, Madam Chair. Just wanting to know with the footings, so when the Christmas trees are taken down, I know in Heisel, for example, they've got a bee, they've got a funding to put a bumblebee on those footings, and then the Mergen community were concerned about not having anything on their particular footings once the tree is removed. And so what do we do with that? Because I know the bolts stick up a little bit. If the community don't have something to put on there, what do we put on there?
Certainly, we'll have a cover that will go over the top of the footings just to protect, so no one, if someone was to walk across there, it's clearly visible, so people won't trip or fall over the footings. And obviously we're going to continue to maintain around the footings. You know, we've got to mow and whippersnip and continue to maintain around them. So there will be a small cover over the top of the footings that is easily identified if you're walking through the park. But yes, most definitely it's something that the community could work towards, and happy to talk to the Mergen Business Association about that. That, you know, it could be a matter of working with an artist or a community organisation about how something could be displayed on that to, you know, promote a particular piece of artwork or a sign or something like that in the future. So that's something that we can work on, and I think we identified that through the QE2 discussions when we were on site there a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about the designs for stage 2, and we flagged that then. So happy as we work through that project that we keep talking to the community about what they'd like to see on that particular footing.
So I think through you, Madam Chair, that we should encourage the business groups to actually apply for funding to get something on those footings, because it would be much more attractive than just having the cover over. So I'm guessing that that's the same across in lots of other communities as well. So maybe that's something we could just maybe write to the different chambers or the different community organisations and make a suggestion. Because that I know at Heisel we took a fair while before, and I don't, it's because we didn't know, but the actual dimensions of the footings. So if we had the dimensions, because they'd be all pretty much standard now, have those dimensions and just suggest that to the different groups, I'm sure they'd be keen to get something happening. And the other question was just the storage of the Christmas trees, because I know the Mergen Christmas tree, when the other one the big one that they had, they stored it themselves, and then we couldn't fit it in our depot. So what are we doing about storage of all these trees? Do we have somewhere to store the Mergen one, the Heisel one, or all of those trees?
Yep, so we have identified through our council depots a number of sheds that Parks utilises for storage of a number of items. So yes, we have adequate storage within the council depot facilities to be able to store some of the Christmas trees in Wandai, Kingaroy and the Benango, most definitely, and Blackbutt. We have limited storage space at Mergen, so our suggestion will be that Christmas tree most likely will come back to the Wandai or Mergen depot, but we have adequate space in some of the other other depots. So I'm happy to keep them stored, and that's what they need to do. You know, everything needs to be wrapped back up and placed away in some big plastic boxes, so vermin and dust does not go through our items. Because, yeah, you are storing them for probably 8 months of the year, so it does need to be tucked away.
And so it's through you, Madam Chair, so the Heisel one, would it, because I know they were concerned about storage, so it will go back to Wando or something like that, yeah. Just a bit of, what is, as Councillor Henson would say, useless information, but the Proston didn't have a Christmas tree years ago, and the Blackbutt Christmas tree was replaced, and it was actually, the old tree was put in the Blackbutt dump, and because back then we didn't have a transfer station, it was just the dump there, and Proston found out about it, and we got the tree from the Blackbutt dump into Proston, and now that tree's a shining light, and actually Mergen last year said, could they get one the same as Proston? I just thought how uncanny it was, that how ironic it was that it actually come from the Blackbutt tip to become that tree that now everyone's envious of. So yeah, so that's where that came from. Just a bit of useless information. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dove. Councillor Erkins?
With the Nango's tree, the frame actually stays up. I'm wondering whether it would be possible if the Nango community, say NAPTA, were able to obtain a grant to see whether we could do something with that to make it, so I'm very keen on the light idea, to make it look more like a tree rather than a Christmas tree for during that other period. Would there be any objections to us being able to do that if we could get a community group to obtain a grant to, you know, make it a little more visually pleasing?
I think so, most definitely. It's something we would need to work with each community because each tree or footing is a little bit different, you're right. The Nango and Kingaroy and Wandai, they actually have a pole. Sometimes we leave the actual round section on there and sometimes we remove that. So yes, happy to work with those community groups. The one in the Nango will just need to be mindful of that it is within the roundabout with DTMR. So whatever approval would have to be engineered and certified and agreed upon by DTMR. But, you know, they're the sorts of things and discussions that we can have. So great idea.
Yeah, I know that currently a lot of community groups do hang signs off it, but because of its shape, it's not really very, you know, unless I think you get them made. But you know, even something like that, if we could work to see whether there is funding, but I know NACTA might be pretty keen to do something if that's possible and then utilise it for two things without it being a cost to council and ratepayers.
Thank you, Councillor Erkins. Councillor Shoemaker?
Just one last question. Have we done a review? Like, are there any unspent Works for Queensland funds that we could use for this purpose, or is there any other option for funding the Christmas tree decorations, or is this it?
I will hand over to Kerry, maybe would like to comment about other funds, but certainly under the Works for Queensland, there is no project underspent in the Works for Queensland projects that is under the open space and building community section. Yeah, so most of our projects are over in each of those categories at the moment. So, yeah, unfortunately, no to Works for Queensland. And just doing our first quarter review at the moment across our capital works projects, we haven't identified any other projects in there at this stage that are under budget or are unable to occur due to other circumstances. We haven't identified that either. So unfortunately, at this stage in the first quarter, we haven't been able to find any other money within our building CapEx program.
Yeah. Kerry, anything to add?
Through you, Madam Chair, yeah, no, agree with Leanne there. We did have an extensive look when we were putting, identifying exactly where all this could come from. And yeah, there wasn't anything that was standing out as to something that, or anywhere that we could move funds around to fund this instead of something else.
Yeah, well, thank you for your efforts.
Rightio. Have you got something else? So if there's no further discussion on this one, moved by Councillor Duff, seconded by Councillor Erkins, that the committee recommend to Council that the Christmas tree garland and the new decorations be purchased and a budget of $57,000 be provided from the 23-24 building asset restricted cash. All those in favour? It's Councillor Duff, Councillor Erkins, Councillor Henson and myself. Against? Councillor Shoemaker. Thank you very much. Motion carried. Okay, so next up on the agenda is item number 13. And item number 13 is Councillor Erkins, Tourism and Vic's Sport and Recreation and Commercial Enterprises Portfolio Report. Councillor Erkins.
Thank you. I won't read through everything, but I have highlighted a couple of things. I was quite pleased to attend with Visit South Burnett a tourism workshop over in Toowoomba just recently. I am also very pleased to let everyone know that Visit South Burnett are going to be attending a CMCA event being held in Dalby in October. And if any councillors are available, I'm sure they would welcome anyone who wanted to pop in during that time. The Wando Heritage Museum, that was a great day. It was, as Councillor Duff said, it was very busy. I think all councillors went over and were very surprised at how great it actually looks. I was probably a little disappointed to find out that Nanango were very short on volunteers for the information centres, and I myself will try and promote people to come down and help, especially when I tell them how well Kingaroy does and how poorly we do. They might step up to the mark. The sale yards, the new platforms are going in there slow. They're doing them on a rotation basis and they're really looking good. Unfortunately, they weren't able to make them a little wider, so both Councillor Jones and myself could pass on the platforms. I've got to wait at the end till people go past. The aerodromes, everything is going well out there. There was an event at Wandai, which unfortunately, due to storms in Nanango, I wasn't able to attend. Sporting, with tourism, I think that tourism and sport just goes so much together, and our community are really lucky that we have so many sporting committees that host a lot of events which do bring in a lot of tourism into our area, and that's really great to see, and it's great to support those sporting organisations. So apart from that, my report is in the agenda for anyone who'd like to see any further, and I'd like to move that it's accepted. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much for moving that. Do we have a second? Councillor Henson. Any comments or questions for Councillor Erkins? No, that's wonderful. So moved by Councillor Erkins, second by Councillor Henson, for Councillor Erkins Tourism, Vic, Sport and Rec and Commercial Enterprises Portfolio Report be received. All those in favour? Unanimous. Against? Nobody against. Beautiful. Carried. Okay, next item is item number 14.1, which is the Ringsfield House Advisory Committee, and the committee recommends to Council that 1, the Ringsfield House is open by appointment, with tours being conducted by volunteers that have been instructed as per the volunteer process of the Visitor Information Centre, with reporting to the Visitor Enhancement Officer and the Tourism Officer. The Ringsfield House be promoted as a community facility and venue and is open to hirers who wish to run community-led events. Number 3, that a stock take of current artefacts be completed and future recommendation made from the committee to reduce the number of artefacts. Number 4, any volunteers wishing to participate in undertaking work at the house are inducted and managed by council, including those working for hire incorporated groups. An amendment is made to the 23-24 fees and charges for group tours of Ringsfield House to $5 per person. That the minutes of the July 2023 and August 23 Ringsfield House Advisory Committee be received for information. Do we have a mover? Councillor Erkin, seconded by Councillor Duff. Any questions or comments with regards to this one? No questions or comments? We'll put it... Okay, Councillor Duff.
Sorry, Acting Chair, just wanted to say that I'm really pleased to see that things are starting to happen there. It's been a long, long time, and it's positive to finally get some utilisation of Ringsfield House. And I just want to also congratulate again, as I've had said before, Councillor Urquhart's on that Reuben in the Garden. Those events are amazing, just fantastic. So well attended, and just a great opportunity to appreciate what is actually there at Ringsfield House. So, yeah, just a comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duff. Councillor Shoemaker.
Yeah, thank you. So certainly agree. I know it's been a long time coming, and there's some amazing opportunities there with Ringsfield House for the community to use the facility. It's just trying to better understand. So at the moment, the committee is taking responsibility. Like, I just want to, probably some of my questions is just around the logistics of this. So the maintenance, the gardens, the operation, so the volunteers provide the manpower to offer the tours and those sorts of things. Do they manage the bookings, or is council managing the bookings? Just some information about the logistics of this.
Through the chair. So yes, we did spend quite a bit of time talking about how that would work with the advisory committee. So it's trying to find a way of not being obstructions to volunteers wanting to volunteer, but having enough framework around that we're supporting them from a workplace health and safety point of view. So that's how we've come up with recommendation 1. So if you would like to volunteer at Ringsfield House, you still need to be inducted as if you were going to be a volunteer at a VIC.
Yeah.
And so that sort of gives you that induction to council's policies and procedures, so you become a council volunteer. That is different to if you want to hire it as an incorporated group to run an event. It's different. Yep. Council will still maintain and run the booking system, so it's just as simple as grabbing a hire form, no different to booking one of our halls, and paying the fee that's applicable for whatever the use is, and then we, I guess, the community development and the Visitor Information Centre team will work to make sure there's no conflicts and checking that we can actually accommodate whatever that booking is, because there can be a diversity of, what people are seeking. So that was sort of, I guess, the best way we could accommodate this spontaneous volunteering without asking another incorporated group to be formed as a Ringsfield House incorporated group. So if that's where the advisory committee recommends down the future path that that's a possibility and we want to go to a formal licence or something like that, then that's a conversation have perhaps in the future. But at the moment it was just about getting community engaged in the space, reopening the space, and having locals lead those events and taking ownership of the space, but supporting them as best we can. So just hope that clarifies it for you.
Yeah, fantastic. No, I think that's a really great start, and it's exciting that once the facility is used and there's some momentum there, there's many more opportunities that no doubt will come to fruition. So, no, thank you for the report and the information.
Thank you very much, Councillor Shoemaker. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll put this one to the vote. So it's moved by Councillor Erkin, seconded by Councillor Duff. The committee recommends to Council those 6 recommendations. They're in front of you now. All those in favour? Unanimous. No one against. Beautiful, carried. Okay, the next one on the list is item number 15.1, which is the fees and charges, the transshipping fee. So we've got an officer's recommendation here that the committee recommends to Council the Council adopt a transshipping fee for less than 100 head at $250 per annum and greater than 100 head at $750 per annum for the 23-24 financial year, and amend the 23-24 schedule of fees and charges accordingly. So this is moved by Councillor Henson, because I saw his arm go up just before. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Shoemaker. Questions or comments with regards to this one, or do you want to get a little bit of background? Councillor Henson?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, I wonder, Mr. CEO, could we perhaps leave this until we've done the confidential section?
Thanks, Councillor, for the question. Actually, I was having a think in my head, and when it was going to be an issue. This is dealing with the fees and charges specifically, so it's a matter of ordinary business. And I'm just pondering what you and Councillor Duff said at the beginning, is if 19.2, which isn't dealing with fees and charges, it's dealing with a concession to an individual company. If that company still raises that same conflict you felt you may have had if this wasn't ordinary business. So I'd be reluctant to put them together for a start, because as my earlier advice was, whilst we're dealing with fees and charges only, it is ordinary business because it's a budgetary matter. The 19.2 is a concessional or a consideration of a request for an individual company. It's not a, I know that probably sounds like splitting hairs, but it's not a budgetary matter. And so if councillors did, given Councillor Jones has trotted off to another function, we just need to make sure, A, that we maintain quorum, and B, then decide what action to take from there. If there isn't a conflict with the individual company, that's fine. But yeah, or if we can deal with the conflict if it arises. But long answer to your question, I'd be reluctant to combine them.
Through you, Madam Chair. Yeah, look, happy, Mr. CEO. Just a question I wanted to pose. I'm happy to proceed with this agenda item.
Okay, so Councillor Shoemaker?
Yes, I'm by all means happy to participate in this item, 15.1. Just in relation to 19.2 though, being that there are only 2 companies that actually use the transshipping service, and I actually have purchased cattle, not for some time, but I have purchased cattle and used the company in question. I guess my question is, I didn't feel I had a conflict, but after it's been brought up and had this discussion, I don't know if my business uses that service like any other business in the region. I don't think I necessarily have a conflict, but in the same instance, I guess it could be seen that I may benefit from the favour of that business. So probably seeking, I know 19.2, I'm comfortable with this item, but perhaps before we go to 19.2, we have a discussion about it. If you can just mull it around, CEO Mark. I didn't really pick up on it before because I sort of didn't see my conflict as any different to any other person's conflict in who would use the sale yards, but I know we've been down this road before, so.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor. And again, actually, I must say it was sort of well, how do I put this? If it's, you wouldn't think it's the end of the earth issue, to use a colloquialism, but just same sort of thing. I've been just thinking about as I've gone through and thought, oh, 15.1's a fee, 19.2 is a concession, so it's to an individual company. But yeah, when we get to 19, well, before we move into closed, Chair, I think if we can just
Okay.
deal with 19.2. And the fact that if councillors from the earlier wish to stay in the room, there's a mechanism for that to be dealt with, even if we drop out of quorum with council staying. But anyway, yeah, we can deal with it at 19.2.
Thank you very much. So this is the recommendation before us, is that the committee recommends to council. Is there any questions, comments with regards to the motion in front of us now? Councillor Duff.
Yes, through you, Acting Chair. So I'm just wanting to know, it's in the report, it says due to not having the yard staff 5 days a week monitoring the movements is based on honesty from the transport companies. So therefore, to encourage more transport operators to utilise the yards, it's proposed to offer a fee for the service. So if we introduce this fee, is it still based on an honesty system?
Manager Poynton.
So yes, it is still based on an honesty system. We don't have the structures out there as far as security or personnel to be there. And I just have faith in our commercial partners out there that they are being honest, and to be, like, there's a fair bit of, ground truthing. Obviously, if one company has a contingency of 6 B doubles versus one that has a body truck, you're going to make an assumption of what their turnover through the yards is. So I guess it's just about some critical thinking about what that service provider, that livestock transport operator, is actually using, and I guess implementing a fee that is reasonable for their size and scale of operation.
Sorry, just I'm struggling with this one because I just don't know how introducing a fee would encourage more transport operators. We don't currently have the fees. Like you're saying, you're trying to discourage the bigger transport companies using it with the $750. Like, what's making what will make more people use it?
Through you, Madam Chair, I guess it's try to make it fairer for all companies that use that transshipping system. So I guess if currently in 22-23 it was decided by the working group committee to bring this fee in, and it was a $750 flat fee per annum, which works fine if you're putting through a couple of thousand head. These smaller companies are putting less than 100 head through, so therefore the cost for them to use this transshipping fee is a lot more. Therefore, they're looking at ceasing that opportunity. So the transshipping fee, just to explain what it is about, it's about individual vendors that have 2 or 3 head of cattle that need to go to the meatworks. Instead of the livestock transporters going out to each individual property owner and then charging them a fee for that cartage, the owners arrange the yards as a depot for drop-off. How they get in there could be by different carters even, and then those companies, the 2 companies in question, then pick up that load of cattle and take them as a load to Dinmore. So therefore it gives the opportunity for these companies to charge a fee out to the people that they're transporting cattle for, but it's not costing a person a couple of $100 to bring 1 head in to Coolangatta yards to then go to Dinmore. So I guess what we're saying in this instance is that it may also open the door up for other smaller transport companies to utilise our yards, I guess, as a depot, as a holding facility, so that they can get 20, 50 double-deckers loads and then take it all as one load to Dinmore. I guess that's where it is. And therefore it wasn't fair, I guess is the word, in some of those smaller. So they're finding it very difficult to charge a person $7.50, fee to have that cattle land at Coolangatta Yard. So I guess if that helps explain it.
Yeah. So through you, Madam Chair, just so just say sometimes there would be just someone that has wanting to drop a couple of head and someone else is going to pick it up and take it. So then, if it was just a one-off or something like that, even $250 would be excessive. So I'm just struggling with the just like a blanket $250 and then $750, because sometimes it might be just a one-off. So how do you get around that?
Well, it's only been identified to us that there's two companies that does this service down to the Meatworks, JBS, or the different meatwork companies. And as Manager pointed out before, currently we don't have a structure or a system in place that we know for sure that they're only taking 100 or they're taking 1,500 or they're taking 2,000. So it is very much on a honesty system from those transport operators feeding that information back to us. So they might have these smaller companies might only get 7 head for this month. They could get 15 for the next month, but over a 12-month period, what they're saying is it's less than 100 head. And that's why we're looking at the two different fee structures, because the smaller companies are well and truly 100 or less, and the bigger companies are well and truly could be up to 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 a year that they take down there. So it's just trying to be a little bit fairer, I guess, without, not giving our graziers in our region the opportunity to save a bit of money by getting those, bulking their cattle up with other people to get them down to Dinmore, instead of having to pay a carrier to come out to pick up one faulty cow and then take her down to Dinmore. So that's sort of where we're looking at. And probably for us too, to be quite honest, when this was mentioned to us by the agents about this transshipping fee, we really didn't know at the time when we set those charges. So it's only really since it's been brought to light about the rate if you're a small company, and they felt that it's not they didn't want to pass that cost, that $7, say $7.50 per head onto their customer.
Yep, okay, so I thank you for that. Now I understand. So it's been, because I must have missed that conversation. So the working group are happy, they put that forward, the agents put that forward, that idea, that suggestion, you're saying?
So the agents put forward the initial transshipping fee.
Yes.
So the reason this one's come through to council to look at reviewing the fees and charges is obviously from the inquiry we've had from the agenda item later.
So the agents has this just through acting chair, so this has been discussed with the agents. Is that, I just want to just clarify that.
No, it hasn't. Not as part of the fee and charge. No.
I'd probably be more comfortable if this actually went through the working group, because I thought that was the intention of the working group, was to sort of get the agents and everyone around the table and just see how it should work. So is there any urgency with this? Could I move that this lay on the table until the next working group meeting?
Yeah.
Sorry. Well, okay. Well, I'm happy to continue the conversation, but yeah, just thinking potentially.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Erkins?
Thank you. This is not a fee paid by the agents or through the agent. This is purely a fee paid by the transporters. So it's really got nothing to do with the agents. So it's brought in to help the smaller. So it's not to penalise them. Is it paid by the people bringing their cattle in or the people taking the cattle out?
So this fee is actually sent to the livestock carriers. How they recoup this fee is realistically up to them, but it gives them the opportunity because we send this fee out annually, so it's an annual fee. So therefore they've got that opportunity. If they seem to deem to recoup this cost, they could charge their clients.
So if someone's bringing their cattle in and then someone else has taken them out, is it charged to both the guy taking them out and only to one? So only the guy who picks them up?
It's only charged to the livestock companies that are transporting these cattle that are left in our yards as a holding facility to the yards.
Okay, so, yep.
Yeah, so for instance, if individual farmers have their own means to get cattle in, they could bring a couple of head in, another couple of fellows could bring another few head in, so
Yep.
therefore
And it's
the
the guy who
company
takes
then
them
comes
out.
to the yard instead of having to go to 5 or 7
Yep.
different locations to pick up maybe
Yep.
7
Yep.
head.
Yep.
So it's used more like what I call as a depot.
Yep. So if you've got if you've got a small operator that only takes a few out, they're going to pay less. So if they decide to pass that on to their, what's saying it's going to be less that they're passing on. If you have a big operator, well, they've got a lot of cattle, so it's also going to be less for them to carry. Okay, I'm happy with that. Yep.
Thank you very much. Councillor Henson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, look, there's no one going to send one beast in to go to Dinmore. In the rural sector, it's the conversations around, and you know what you've got to send to an abattoir, so you'll make a phone call around the district where a particular carrier might pick up 2 from your place, 4 from your place, 6 from your place, and they'll come to the yards where they'll help make up a load to go to Dinmore. There's a facility out there that people have been screaming for to be upgraded and kept in great condition or refurbished, which, might I add, wonderful job with the walkways just being completed, along with the new construction of some yards out there, which I'd like to think Council will continue to pursue in the years to come. People want a facility there. Those costs will be, it works out roughly around $6.50 to $7.50 a head if you're paying the $750 fee. And I've just probably got to be a little cautious here what I say, because we're going into confidential in 19.2, and if you've read 19.2, there's a conversation we will have later on in closed chambers here in relation to it. So yes, the implementation. That being said, there's a possibility of other carriers that may use that facility to get cattle in there, and we encourage people to do that, because what we do not want to see, and it happens, and in some circumstances it cannot be avoided, where you have trucks on the side of the road unloading cattle from one truck into another truck. Now that's all right to say, she'll be right, mate, but those days are going to be limited because of animal welfare and a safety issue on roadsides. As much as in the rural sector that happens and sometimes can't be avoided, we have a facility there that we're trying to encourage people to use. So I think the idea of this recommendation is a reasonably fair and consistent one with what Council's trying to do across the board. $750 per annum, and as far as the honesty system, I think in time, I'd like to think Council can implement something that is exact, because people say about paperwork, the paperwork goes to the abattoir. It goes down to JBS, all the paperwork. Whereas normal consignment of cattle, you have copies that go to the truck driver, the owner keeps a copy and the agent keeps a copy. So in these circumstances, the paperwork goes directly to JBS. And I'd like to think our operators in our region will appreciate this motion and support that sale yards, and because of these fees, and we will have this conversation, and I'm sure there'll be a little bit more clarity around that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Henson. Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, I'm fully supportive of the recommendation as it stands. I think we really need to do what we can to help out our small operators. You know, we're on the road a lot as councillors. I see many, 2 in particular that we're talking about, on the road at all times of day and night, at all times of the week. I think anything that we can do to actually help use that facility in a way that supports primary producers and graziers and reduce the costs or the mileage, I think is a really great outcome. So I absolutely want to see those yards full and used and continue to be valued by our community. And I think if there's an opportunity to add value to some of our local car carriers, I think, you know, we should be looking at that and really grabbing onto that opportunity. I think, I'm fully supportive. I think the service our local carriers does for our primary producers and our graziers really is remarkable, and I think anything we could do to actually make it perhaps a little bit easier or a bit more cost effective for them by using the sale yard and display is a good thing. So fully supportive, and do believe the honesty system, it's worked so far. I think these are good people, and I trust that they'll do the right thing by our council and our community. So thanks for bringing it forward. Thank you for the work. I just wanted to confirm, it was my understanding from what you said that this was actually an initiative that came out of the working group meeting?
This came out back in before the budget of 22-23, because this fee has never been charged. Last financial year was the first time this council's ever charged a transshipping fee, and it was brought, I guess, to our light by the agents that we should be looking at charging this fee because of this service that we're giving as sort of like a depot, holding depot, and that's why it was introduced.
Yeah, thank you. Like at the end of the day, we're really looking at this facility through, whilst it's doing, you know, amazing things for the sector, at the end of the day we have to do all that we can to try to recruit some revenue from it so that we can make sure that the improvements, the maintenance, the things that need to happen are done. So yeah, I'm fully supportive of this. Thank you for bringing it forward.
Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. Councillor Duff?
Just some more questions. So, sorry. So was the $750, was that the current fee in our... So that's the current fee?
That's correct.
So what you're saying is by reducing, by having one for like a lesser amount, $250 for under 100, like it's no wonder we've only got 2 like operators using it, because why would you use it when it's going to cost that much? But I'm just interested to know whether other yards would charge that, because I'm just thinking if you're trying to encourage, you know, people to go there and use that rather than, as Councillor Henson said, to swap them on a side of the road, even a fee of $250 would be a disincentive for people that are just, you know, doing a one-off or something like that. So I just don't know whether, like, obviously the $750 would have been too much for any small company, but even $250 could be too much for a small company that's just doing a couple of transitions in a year. It just seems to me, you know, like just a challenging even for a small company. Just that's just my statement, my question, just wanting to get some feedback. Thank you.
So through the chair, you'll find a majority of the yards in the region do charge a transshipping fee. Emergent yards do it a little bit differently. The sale yards themselves will charge you as a producer to deliver your cattle there to meet, say, a commercial carrier to do bulk loads. For us, this is the most efficient administrative way of doing it, rather than trying to, because we obviously have issues with the cost of our invoicing and things like that. So for us as an administration team, it is much more efficient to identify those carriers and charge them the fee, and then they then recoup those costs from the individual producers. So that's probably the slight difference in how it's administered. But it's fairly standard practice that in these southeast corner particularly, where there's multi-vendors being consigned into a bulk B double to go to Dinmore or Tees Brothers, particularly here, that there is a share cost, no different to then that B double sharing that cost across all those producers. So it's just about freight efficiencies really in the supply chain.
Thank you for that answer. I'm happy to support it and see how it goes, because like I'd like to review it and have a look at if we get more utilisation at the $250 over time. So yeah, happy to support it with the option of reviewing it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Duff. Councillor Erkins?
Just one last comment. So just to get it clear, we are reducing the cost for small operators from $750 to $250. We're not putting the price up to $250 from nothing. We're taking it down from 750 to 250. Okay, yep.
Beautiful. Okay. Righty, I think we've had enough discussion on this. So we might put this to the vote. It's been moved by Councillor Henchand, seconded by Councillor Shoemaker. The committee recommends to Council the Council adopt a transshipping fee for less than 100 head of $250 per annum and greater than 100 head at $750 per annum for the 23-24 financial year, and amend the 23-24 schedule of fees and charges accordingly. All those in favour? Unanimous. No one against. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're moving on now to item number 15.2. So 15.2 is that the committee recommends to Council that the Council decline the request to waive the consignment fees for sale of cattle that are held over to be cleared as a reduction was already considered in the setting of the fees of the 23-24 financial year. So do we have a mover for this one? Councillor Erkins, do we have a seconder? Councillor Shoemaker, thank you very much. Right, questions and comments on this one?
Chair, can we just sort out the whole Coolangatta thing while we're here just before? So if I may just ask you to hold the move in second, and I'll just go through the procedural stuff first. So this has come up several times, as councillors would be aware. So Councillor Henchand, Jones, Duff and Shoemaker have previously declared interests in it. The matter's been raised predominantly the 22nd of September 2021. That's why we're just stepping out. We went back to, thought, we'll just double check where we're at. So the matter's been resolved and dealt with because the councillors, the nature of the interest, and Tiana will write all this up rather than me trying to dictate a novelty and now.
Yep.
So the resolution, unless the circumstances has changed from the matter of 22nd September 2021, that's been through the register 7 times and we refer to that. The only difference will be, which was that the matter was resolved that the councillors pertaining their declaration wish to stay in the room and vote, and council resolved as an entity that they would be able to stay in the room and vote. So unless circumstances have changed, that matter's been, and we'll note that resolution number. Councillor Henchand, you are the only one who is different. 24th of November 2021, you had previously stayed, and then in November, because you had a perceived relationship with a cattle agent who operates at the site, so you left voluntarily and decided not to vote. Then the next time this came up was in January 2022. You wished to stay. There was a decision of council that Councillor Henchand may participate and vote on the matter, so that's the 25th of January 2022. So that's the only difference. It will be a different date against yours as far as when council resolved you may stay. Then again in February 2022. So we've got that decision was reinstated. The only question I would ask all councillors is, has any circumstances changed? And it's just from the September 2021, or for you, Councillor Henchand, January 2022.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. Councillor Duff.
Nothing's changed, thank you.
Councillor Shoemaker.
No.
Okay, but rather than going through eligible councillors are able to vote, we love this system, don't we? Eligible councillors, so Councillor Potter and Councillor Erkins would be eligible to vote if we had to go to the vote, but given the council has already resolved these matters, there's been no change in circumstances. We will note the, because we'll have the wording from the previous ones, we'll note the 3 councillors' conflicts or declarations that they wish to stay, and we will note that the matter has been previously resolved by the appropriate date and resolution numbers, and life goes on. So thank you. But I just thought we might as well clear this up now before we get to 19.2. Thank you.
And now, so are we right to move on with the discussions now? Thank you very much. Okay, Councillor Erkins.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. I'm very keen to support this. I know that on my visits to the sale yard, one of the things that the users out there are very, very firm and very vocal on that they wish the sale yards to remain open. I personally think that to expect to have a loss, to lose fees of, I think it was $4,763 through waiving this fee is really a little unrealistic, because you can't expect the rest of the ratepayers to keep funding something when really it should be, as I said. I believe it's user pays, and I think the sale yard is coming on quite well. There are repairs and improvements being made out there, and so as I said, I support the motion not to decline their request to reduce that fee.
Thank you very much, Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just just to address Councillor Erkin's comments, sometimes you can be a penny wise and a pound foolish. So the Coolabunga sale yards are a tick line, and that's why they were put there so that they would take both ticky and clean cattle. So I think that probably the concern here is that if we're tough on the ticky cattle and we continue to have the and I'm happy to be corrected if I'm wrong, but the consignment fee would be a disincentive for people to bring ticky cattle. So currently, Mergan's a ticky sale yard. So I don't know. Does Mergan have a consignment fee? Just through you to.
I'm not 100% sure, and whether they combine that into another fee structure. Yeah.
Yep. So all that would happen is if agents are concerned about that the cattle could have ticks on them and they haven't been declared clean prior, there'd be a disincentive for them to bring for anyone to bring ticky cattle to the yard. So that's probably why the agents have come forward and said, well, can we waive that to try and encourage more of the cattle that may or may not have ticks on them to actually come to the yard. So just happy to have Michael comment on his, what I've said and whether he thinks that there's something in that.
Yeah, so probably just to clarify, that figure is only the ticky cattle held over after a sale. So there could be 5,000 head of ticky cattle go through that yard a year. And as primary producers, you all know, if you send ticky cattle to a yard and someone is going to buy them and has to clear them, they normally buy those cattle for a cheaper rate, $cents per kilo, because they know there's added costs. So obviously, agents obviously try to instill into their clients that if you send pre-treated cattle into the yard, you're probably going to optimize the premium money you're going to get, because obviously they've already been pre-treated, they've passed the inspection when they come in the day before, so they're sold as clean cattle, and all you have to then do is whack them through the dip and then they can go home. So it's a bit of a catch-22, but we're not deterring people to send ticky cattle into the yard. Everyone has a choice whether to send them in loaded with ticks or have them pre-treated. But normally, an instance is if you have ticky cattle, they normally sell for a cheaper rate. So the buyer that's buying them has already discounted them, knowing that they're going to have to hold those cattle over if they've got to be cleared. So it's, I guess that's probably, if that explains it. But that's not only the ticky cattle. That 1,059 is not just ticky cattle. There could have been 5,000 ticky cattle that have come into that yard. It's only the ones that have been held over to be, dipped and wait that 4 days before they can then be cleared.
No, thank you for clarifying that.
Councillor, okay, you're right. Rightio, so is there any more questions or comments with regards to this? There has been quite a bit of discussion on this one. Oh, sorry, Councillor Henson. just looked over here and I didn't see the light on.
Yeah, no, thank you. And thank you, Michael, for clarifying that. People do know there's a facility there and the exact reason, but with that being said, agents will state when that lot comes up for sale, they will say they're ticky or they're clean, or purchasers, before they get an opportunity to do that, will say what's their status, ticky or clean. Now, the rural sector works hard in keeping ticks out of clean country, and those, is exactly as you explained. If you know they're ticky, I've done it myself, gone there and asked the question, are they ticky? Wonderful facility, they get dipped and cleared. There's a process for that and a time frame for it. That's a facility they're using, they're drinking water, they're using the assets that we supply out there, so I don't have a problem with this and fully supportive of the recommendation.
Thank you very much, Councillor Henson. No other questions or comments with regards to this? If that's been the case, we'll take this to the vote. So it's moved by Councillor Erkin, seconded by Councillor Shoemaker, that the committee recommends to Council that the Council decline the request for waiver of consignment fees for sale cattle that are held over to be cleared, as a reduction was already considered in the setting of the fees for the 23-24 financial year. All those in favour? Unanimous. No one against. Thank you very much. Rightio. Okay, so the next one on the report is for the 16.1, which is Councillor Shoemaker's Regional Development Services, Community and Social Housing Portfolio Report. Councillor Shoemaker.
Thank you, Councillor Potter. It is certainly a pleasure to present this month's report. Thank you to the Development and Communities team who have prepared the information here in relation to development services, building, planning, plumbing, and our major planning scheme amendment, as well as resourcing. Great to see or to hear there was a builders forum organised. I wasn't aware of that, but it's a wonderful outcome for our local builders, our designers and glaziers to meet. There was 23 people who met for 2 hours to discuss what I believe is the state government's decision to increase the energy efficient star rating for our building code from a 6 to 7 stars. I personally hold concerns about how that impacts us in the current housing crisis, but certainly appreciate the team's efforts in trying to work with local trades before that comes into account. From a building point of view, the team have been very busy, 57 customer requests and 58 building applications. The numbers provided show that there's still a really strong pipeline of building and construction projects in the region, currently tracking at 462 this financial year, which is compared to 402 for the previous year and 364 for 2019-20, so strong pipeline of projects there. Planning, there has been 90 customer requests for the month of August. Thank you, that's enormous, 90. It's only 30 days in the month, so that's huge. It's great to see there's so much interest in development in our region. 8 planning applications, and there have been 2 pre-lodgement meetings. 2 material changes of use, 4 reconfigurations of a lot. Really welcome those. That's infill development. 1 plan of ceiling, 1 operational works permit, and 1 application for the development incentive scheme. The number of planning applications projected to be received by council for this financial year is 138 compared to 121 for the previous year and 64 for the 19-20 year. During the month of August, the plumbing team received 17 customer requests and 20 plumbing and drainage applications, 13 for Class 1 and 10A domestic no sewer, 7 for Class 1 and 10A domestic sewer, so the houses, and 1 for Class 2 to 9 other buildings, commercial buildings. Number of applications projected to be received this financial year is 258 compared to 236 the previous financial year and 248 19-20 year. the major planning scheme amendment, a revised version of the proposed major amendment was submitted to the Department of State Development, Infrastructure, Land, Local Government and Planning on the 22nd of March 2023. The state's time frame for its review expired in May without receiving a response. Council's consultant advises that such a delay is consistent local government experience and continues to follow up with the department about Council's request. As of the 4th of September, Council's request remains with the internal approval process of the department and or with the Minister. Next process step is for the Minister to give Council notice of the outcome of the state interest review, whether Council may proceed to publicly consult the proposed major amendment of the planning scheme and the communication strategy that Council must implement when proceeding to public consultation. From a resourcing point of view, there's been a reliance on assistance of external consultants in the planning team. This reliance has reduced due to there being a full complement of staff, which is fantastic. However, ongoing assistance is still required due to the increase in frequency of customer requests, development applications, planning scheme review, and internal council pressures, including training. Additionally, planning staff are required to attend ad hoc discussions and stakeholder meetings in addition to existing and projected workloads, so we certainly value our team. I've also provided there my regional development portfolio report, which I've prepared. In Australia, coal-dependent communities like ours are being faced with the economic, environmental and social challenges presented by the energy transition. Energy communities like us will continue to play an integral part of the energy transition. However, early planning and investment to help create the future we desire is critical. Over this past term, through the development of the South Burnett 25-year economic roadmap, our council has been consulting with our community and all levels of government about the opportunities to create employment, sustain our agricultural and value-adding industries, and be positioned to harness further manufacturing and net zero industries. Our ideal geographical location, available workforce, soils, knowledge, suitable transmission network and alike means our region is ready for sustainable growth. Over these past few months, our council has participated in a stakeholder advisory committee and process led by the Department of State Development, Infrastructure, Local Government and Planning, and chaired by the Executive Regional Director, Craig Rutledge. The state appointed Ernst & Young to head up the development of the Regional Transformation Strategy and Implementation Plan for the Darling Downs Southwest and South Burnett region. During this time, Ernst & Young and the department have held 26 targeted consultation sessions across the Darling Downs Southwest, South Burnett, with stakeholders across local government, construction, agriculture, energy, transport, tourism, community and the not-for-profit sectors. There have been 4 SAC meetings held in Dalby, 10 interagency briefings, 3 Council of Mayors presentations and a public media campaign is to commence soon. CEO Mark Pitt, Councillor Jones and myself have been at the table with a very clear message. To support our region through this transition, we need early planning and investment in creating critical water, roads, housing, tertiary education and community infrastructure. We've been strong advocates along with other appointed representatives from the South Burnett, including Lincoln Hawkes from Swickers, Josh Jadiski from Plenty Foods, Georgie Somerset Ag Force and John Kerry in the roles of Stanwell, RDA, White Bay Burnett, Red Earth and Baido. I'd like to recognise and thank these members. It's been an absolute privilege and amazing learning experience to work with them and be part of these discussions. On the 18th of August, Council responded to the state's request with 12 comprehensive proposals for funding consideration for the state's Renewable Economic Futures funding. I'd like to recognise CEO Mark Pitt, GM for Infrastructure Aaron Meehan, Jed Brennan and the KBR team who worked tirelessly to create first-class proposals that address Council's feedback, the state's criteria and objectives of the Queensland Energy and Jobs Plan. Thank you also to my fellow councillors and management team who worked together to workshop the project concepts submitted. a summary of the project proposals I've included in my report for your reference. The first focus area is largely around job creating water infrastructure. The South Burnett has an abundance of excellent soil, growing conditions and generations of farming experience. The region already produces $360 million of agricultural production with emerging export opportunities through the existing transport infrastructure. Agriculture is a proven job creator. By contrast, renewable energy projects create relatively few jobs. For example, the state government has committed $776 million to the Toorong West Wind Farm to construct 150 turbines. This investment will create 15 direct ongoing jobs. By contrast, investing in water projects and agriculture will create substantially more jobs for substantially
Excuse me,
less
Madam
money.
Chair, Councillor Shoemaker, can I just interject for a moment? Wonderful report, Councillor Shoemaker, but I'll just bring to your attention, you've stated some figures there that aren't correct. And I'll bring it to your attention that you've just read that $776 million to the Toorong Wind Farm, 150 turbines. That's actually incorrect. It's $1.5 billion spend, and it is 97 turbines.
Thank you, Councillor Henson, for correcting me. My apologies for misleading the chamber. I can confirm that we will have made an error also in our letter to the Department of State Development with those figures, and I do understand that project is still ongoing and that is yet to be confirmed. But thank you, Councillor Henson. I'll retract my statement and refresh that the state government has committed $1.5 billion to the Toorong West Wind Farm to construct a total of 97 turbines at this stage. Our 25-year economic roadmap investigation has confirmed the viability of specific agricultural proposals that will employ locals and provide local food security and increase export opportunities. These proposals will replace the jobs lost and add $100 million to local agricultural production. Importantly, the proposal is that the agricultural production created through this new investment, new water infrastructure in net zero. Accordingly, we have proposed the investigation of a net zero agricultural precinct that will allow agricultural production in the South Burnett to create net zero jobs as part of the energy transition. I've included the list of projects there that I won't read out, but I know we're all very passionate about more Kingaroy water for growth, addressing the water security concerns for Kingaroy and creating additional water for high value job creating irrigation. Developing a green agricultural precinct in the South Burnett, being that agriculture is a key to economic growth, job creation and the decarbonisation in South Burnett and Queensland. Funding will facilitate critical feasibility research and planning studies to accelerate the development of a green agricultural precinct and support precincts across regional Queensland. The Nanango Water Solution, urban water for Nanango, is currently provided by Barkers Creek Ballfield. Bores are primarily recharged by water from the Meander Creek. And when Toorong stops making releases, there is some concerns around Nanango's urban drinking water. This project would finalise investigation of an alternative water source. Demand assessment for high priority water as the power station ceases to generate coal fire. It's expected that this demand will decrease. This project will identify the future uses of this water, including green power, high value agricultural processing and green fertiliser production. There'll be a focus on highly productive agricultural areas where high value can be derived from water use and labour intensive businesses to support employment. The Barlil Weir detailed business case and final approvals. We've also submitted the Blackbutt Irrigation detailed business case, which looks at a pipeline that will increase agricultural production, employment and regional prosperity. It will meet the significant demand for access to new and reliable water to make use of highly productive areas around Blackbutt. And the West Baramba project options analysis, which is needed to determine the viability of storage at this site. So there's more information in my report. The second area that we've really focused on is economic diversification and enabling infrastructure. We've identified a number of projects there that will support our transition to a low emission future. They're focused on diversifying the economy through the development of enabling infrastructure and net zero industrial precincts. So the projects we've submitted include Smart Country Enabler, the South Burnett High Speed Pathway to Growth is the installation and immediate deployment of QCN high speed fibre in Kingaroy from Toorong via Nanango. The project will connect the last mile digital enabling infrastructure being created by the Kingaroy Transformation Project. Access to high-speed internet is an essential enabler for the skills, health and industrial precincts proposed. The Regional Future Skills Program and Hub for South Burnett. There's some information there around the introduction of new industries, renewable energy, circular economy, high-tech ag and smart healthcare. All creates a need and opportunity for high-skilled employment and education. The project we've proposed will assess and plan for generational investment in the development of an education and skills development program and hub. We've also submitted the South Burnett Industrial Circular Economy Precinct, which is looking at 2 industrial circular economy precincts to facilitate industrial expansion, investment in circular economy technology and sustainable development through industrial and agricultural waste reuse. The funding will complete a business case to identify and assess precinct options and develop a clear pathway for development of a precinct. The Kingaroy Community Health Precinct Development aims to address service gaps in the industry by improving functionality and capability of the community health and aged care infrastructure. Current infrastructure is no longer fit for purpose, limiting service availability and access. The scope of the community health precinct project encompasses the development of the state-of-the-art health and aged care facility to serve the growing needs of Kingaroy and surrounding communities. And the final project is the Kingaroy Aerodrome Master Plan, which will provide a strategic plan for the aerodrome to provide a long-term planning framework for future use, infrastructure development, land use, economic benefit and cost recovery. The master plan will inform the economic, social requirements, investment and opportunities for the region. So all of those projects are very, very exciting. While we know our region will change as the government-owned Tron Power Station and Meandu Mine is scheduled to transition from predominantly coal-fired energy to create a clean energy hub, our region clearly has a unique opportunity to plan for these eventual changes and co-design the future we desire. In closing, I understand that the Stakeholder Advisory Committee will continue to meet during November and December, and further consultation will occur with regards to the funding arrangements and the release of the draft regional transformation strategy and implementation plans. We welcome the Premier's pledge not to leave regional communities behind and welcome the opportunity to be at the table early. I've also just included in there some information about the Queensland Farmers Federation Renewable Energy Landholder Toolkit. By all means, it is available there online, and if there is anybody seeking some information about any landholders seeking information, I'd strongly encourage them to, of course, seek advice, but also to take a look at that toolkit. And I wanted to include, actually wrote a very comprehensive submission to the Department of, to the state government in relation to the updates to the State Code 23 wind farm development and the associated planning guidance. I penned quite a lengthy submission after writing, highlighting, and really looking at that code through the lens of what this job has actually offered, the tables that we've sat at over these past 4 years. And I would certainly like to acknowledge, I understand CEO Mark and James Darcy also put in a submission. So all we can really hope is that the state government is listening, that they're looking at those codes and guidelines which have a direct impact and influence on the livelihoods of landholders in our region, and actually make some changes that will protect protect our local landholders and our communities for the next generation. So my apologies for the lengthy report, councillors, but there has been a lot going on, and really do look forward to working together over this next 6 months to try to bed some of these things down. Thank you. I'd like to move my report. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder, Councillor Henson? Thank you very much. Any questions or comments for Councillor Shoemaker? Yes, Councillor Erkins.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. In the summary of projects that funding is sought, where you have got the Kingaroy Water for Growth, developing a green agricultural precinct, then you've got the Nanango water solution, and I'm pretty concerned that urban water for Nanango is currently provided by the Barkers Creek bore field. Bores are primary recharge via water discharge to Meander Creek from the Torong Power Station. When Torong stops making releases, these bores will drop and Nanango will not have enough urban drinking water. This project would finalise investigation of an alternate water source. So my concern is that that's investigation into an alternate water source, but it's no solution, and 1.25 million is nowhere near enough funding to ensure water for Nanango, which, I think that's a pretty major concern, and I would appreciate if there was more research or more funding definitely on what that solution is going to be for Nanango water. I just feel sometimes that it seems to get a bit overlooked with, Kingaroy's water growth, 9.5 million, 1.8 for the agriculture, 7 for the Barlil Weir, but it's actually drinking water and usable water for Nanango that we're looking for. So I'd appreciate if that is taken under investigation.
Certainly don't want to undervalue or underestimate the significance of that project, Councillor Erkins. Absolutely at the table and on the page with you. Can provide the comprehensive binder. We have a binder this big, which actually has every one of these projects, the scope, what we'd aim to achieve, and how we'd go about achieving it. This was a preliminary. The state government is wanting to make decisions, quite urgent decisions. Please correct me if I'm wrong, CEO Mark, but from the conversations we've had and the very few meetings we've had, they've got a $200 million Regional Economics Futures Fund, and they're wanting to allocate some funding to council. That proposal for Nanango Water was prepared by our engineers and our team with a real focus on looking at that problem, looking at the maturing infrastructure pipeline project that was done, the regional water assessment that was done, taking all of the information that's been done and actually carving out a proper solution so that we can go to government with that solution and look to getting the further funding for the infrastructure. So it is a key priority. CEO Mark, I certainly, Councillor Erkins, don't want to debate. I was certainly on the page and believe that's a really key project, and it was my understanding that this funding would go a long way in terms of supporting our team to make those next steps.
Yeah, thanks, Chair and Councillor, for the question. So Nanango water is a priority. It's also an urban priority. It'll be on the list of things to talk to Linda Dobie, the Deputy Director General. We've spoken to the Department of State Development. Whilst that looks as not as, those aren't in any priority order. So please don't think because it's third on the list, it's third priority. It's not. It was raised as one of Council's high priorities with this process, but being critical urban infrastructure as well, and certainly your points are well made about the recharging, is that there's other programs that we'll explore in parallel. But with all these things, I'll say regrettably, but often there needs to be other boxes and hoops jumped through, and so that 1.25 would certainly get us down the government path of the paperwork they want. But yeah, no, it is very much a higher priority, and it'll be certainly much on the agenda when we speak to the Deputy Director General.
I'm not actually casting any stones at the work you've done, but I do know that there has been talk in the short time that I've been here and spoken to people from the water that, you know, you're looking at, you know, there's not a lot of options for getting the water there. There's not a lot, you know, and what they're talking is pipelines and water treatment plants, which, you know, so my concern is the 1.25 million, that's all that's going to do is tell us where it's coming from. There's no money there for actually doing it. So that, as I said, I'm not looking to throw stones or criticise. I just want to make sure that Nanango's water access is, and I understand that's not on a priority list. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the funding in there. 1.25 million is going to go nowhere near a water source for Nanango. I just want to make sure that we're at the table for that.
Yeah, and certainly no inference that chucking the old rock and a packet of gravel anywhere. 3 rocks and a packet of gravel, please. No, there wasn't the inference taken, but before you come up with a number of what it's going to cost, so the pipeline from Kingaroy to Nanango was costed and reviewed as part of the MIP project. It's basically been deemed unsustainable, unviable, or whatever you want to. Without running it. So there needs to be work put in to work out what that would be. So there won't be an end cost number at the minute until the rest of these steps are taken. So yeah, so no inference, and absolutely, I can't say I blame you, and totally respect and that it has to be continued to be promoted as a critical issue.
So I can just confirm the timeframes and the milestones in the project plan, which I'll send to you, is that our plan was that if funding was committed and work began in January 2024, Council would actually have the completion of a detailed design for this project by November 2024. So we'll be in a really good position by this time next year to start to actually make some progress on deciding what infrastructure and funding said infrastructure, or looking for funding options. So I just wanted to give you some reassurance, Councillor Erkins, that the timeframes we've laid out for the department, if they choose to support this project, would put us in a really good position by this time next year to actually hopefully have a solution and be able to fund that, or look to ways to fund that. So just hoping that might give you some reassurance.
So, look, I do take on board what you're saying. However, I'm still looking at 1.25 million to investigate, where I'm seeing here Blackbutt irrigation extension of the Blackbutt pipeline will increase agricultural production, 3.6 million. I can just see figures put in there for a solution, not for an investigation into the solution. Again, I'm happy to sit and wait, but I just want to make sure that my concerns are heard and understood.
Yep. And if you jump to a solution now and come up with a price, the scope will change, and this is what we do with small projects, and you'll end up with a massive cost blowout and an absolute crock of a project that won't fill your need. So yeah, absolutely.
Bearing in mind that when I was in Gundawindi,
yep,
and whoever it was that was up there speaking and said that they were going from the water assessments, in the water assessment on their webpage, it says that the pipeline's already been built and Nanango already has the water. So, you know, like that, you know, made me a little concerned. So
and the departments, and as we've said to you, that, and like we're now just starting to go around in circles, the department's information is incorrect.
Yeah.
We're going to meet with Linda Dobie. It's critical water infrastructure. Okay. This program might not be the best because through the REF program, they said they will fund critical water infrastructure through other mechanisms. You will not get funding from government without doing the studies. It says, yeah. Yeah, no. And again, as I said, fully respected and totally, because like it's an issue, it's a critical issue. But unfortunately, unfortunately, I shouldn't say that, but you'd have to go through a process to get government money. And the one point, believe it, and we can all have a cup of tea and discuss whether we think that's money well spent, but it's a process that we have to go through.
Thank you. Councillor Henson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. In no way was I shooting down your great report. There's 12 pages of exceptional work. We know how much goes into these reports. It was only bringing to the public's attention that, and I just go to page 146 where you say, too often it feels like deals are being done under the cloak of confidentiality agreements and without providing property owners with the facts and the time to make considered decisions. We know very well here in this chamber as a council, that's the same to us. We don't get told, and that's proof in the pudding with what's happening in the renewable space out there. I also encourage, where you've stated, Councillor Shoemaker, the Queensland Farmers Federation Renewable Energy Landowner Toolkit, an absolutely excellent toolkit and I would encourage, whether you're involved or not involved, for people to be interested and take some time and read that and browse through it. I carry around with me this, and you've heard me in this chamber, I'm like a broken record. I carry around with me this State Code 23 thing. And I call it a thing because that's what it is. As you know, and the public out there that are listening, I wear two hats in this space. And I'm privileged to be able to say on Friday I've been invited out to Maranoa to a public information session on wind farms out there, where I look forward to wearing both hats out there at that information session. Because they're in a similar spot, they're completely different terrain, but across your report, Councillor Shoemaker, and I do encourage people to take notice of what's happening in this space. We've got renewables progressing through the South Burnett region and will multiply drastically in the time it will affect this region and this council in some shape or form. How that's dealt with is to be seen and heard in the future years to come. But certainly being able to wear two hats, and as you're all well aware, for those that aren't aware that may be listening, I'm on the boundary of the latest project, the Geelong West one, where multiple conversations I've had with them over the past 4 years, and now renewables knocking on my door as a primary producer. So I'm actually privileged to be able to wear two hats in this space. How we come to an amicable agreement or arrangement with some of these companies will be yet to be seen. But yeah, appreciate your report, Councillor Shoemaker, and yeah, there's some serious reading there. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Henson, and certainly I would encourage everyone to have a look at my rather detailed submission I made for the Wind Farm Code. I'd also like to encourage you to have a look. So the 22-23 Queensland Renewable Energy Zone Roadmap is actually released for public consultation at the moment too. This would be, I don't know how many submissions I've penned to government since I've actually sat in this chair. It is really important that if you have views, or certainly if you're in our community and you have views and things that you would like to put forward to the government for consideration in the renewable energy zones, that you do put your feedback forward, because too often if they don't get a response, they assume that everything that they've penned is true and correct and everyone's supportive, and we know firsthand on the ground that that's often not the case. So please take a look at that roadmap. Please put in submissions. This is, if we really want to see change in the space, the only way we can actually advocate and achieve change is by actually speaking up and being a voice for those who actually really need us to be. So please take a look at it. Submissions close, I believe, on the 24th of September, or 22nd of September. 22nd of September. So I'm halfway through mine. I'd certainly encourage you to put one forward. The Department of Public Energy and Works was at the Bush Council's conference. I did chew their ear, as did, I think, Councillor Henson and my other colleagues who were there. And, you know, they strongly recommended that all of that ear chewing went in a submission to this. So please don't miss your opportunity.
Thank you very much, Councillor Shoemaker. I have just asked the CEO if we can put up a link to that for that submission on our Facebook page. So hopefully that'll go up there. If there's no other further questions or comments with regards to Councillor Shoemaker's portfolio report, we might put... Oh, sorry, Councillor Erkins.
Through you, Madam Chair. CEO, do we put a submission in from council as a whole?
We were hoping to, yeah. We haven't written it yet, but
Okay.
hoping
So
to.
one
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okie doke. So it's been moved by Councillor Shoemaker, seconded by Councillor Henson. The Councillor Shoemaker's Regional Development, Development Services and Community and Social Housing Portfolio Report to Council be received for information. All those in favour? Carried unanimously, no one against. Thank you very much. So the next one up on the list is 16.2, which is Development Services Operational Update. So the officer's recommendation is that the Development Services Operational Update be received for information. Can I have a mover? Councillor Erkins. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Duff. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments with regards to this one? No questions or comments? So we'll put that one straight to the vote. So moved by Councillor Erkins, sent by Councillor Duff, the Development Services Operational Update be received for information. All those in favour? Carried unanimously, no one against. Thank you very much. So the next one up is 17.1, which is the officer's recommendation that the delegated authority reports be received. Can I have a mover for that one? Councillor Henson, thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Duff. So any questions or comments with regards to item number 17.1? No questions or comments. So moved by Councillor Henson, seconded by Councillor Duff, that the delegated authority reports be received. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Next we have the list of correspondence pending completion. So officer's recommendation is that the list of correspondence pending completion of assessment report as of the 31st of August 23 be received. Do we have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Duff, seconded by Councillor Erkins. Any questions or comments? No questions or comments. We'll put that one straight to the vote then. So moved by Councillor Duff, seconded by Councillor Erkins, that the list of correspondence pending completion of assessment report as of the 31st of August 23 be received. All those in favour? Carried unanimously, no one against. Thank you very much. Now we have a question on notice here. So at 18.1, we have a question on notice. So where's the question on notice? Let me go to my... That the response to the question regarding the high density application raised by Councillor Shoemaker be received and noted. Councillor Shoemaker, are you happy with the information given?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Potter. I actually was a little confused by this. I think I was speaking about, higher density applications. I probably want to understand more about what the provisions of our current planning scheme are in terms of higher density. So I might actually do some of my own homework, actually. Thank you. I'm happy to receive the response.
Thank you very much. So Councillor Shoemaker has moved. Do we have a seconder for this? Thank you, Councillor Duff. No other questions or comments with regarding to this? Thank you. So moved by Councillor Shoemaker, seconded by Councillor Duff, that the response to the question regarding high density application raised by Councillor Shoemaker be received and noted. All those in favour? Carried unanimously, no one against. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we move on to the confidential section. The Council considers the confidential report listed below in a meeting closed to the public in accordance with Section 254J of the Local Government Regulation 19.1 Legal Update on a planning matter before the Planning and Environment Court. The matter is considered to be confidential under Section 254J of the Local Government Regulation, and the Council is satisfied that discussion of this matter in an open meeting would on balance be contrary to the public interest as it deals with legal service obtained by the local government or legal proceedings involve the local government, including, for example, legal proceedings that may be taken by or against the local government. 19.2, the transshipping fee reduction. This matter is considered to be confidential under section 254JG of the local government regulation, and the council is satisfied that discussion of this matter in an open meeting would, on balance, be contrary to the public interest as it deals with negotiations relating to a commercial matter involving local government for which the public discussion would likely prejudice the interests of the local government. Can we have a mover for this, please, to go into close? Thank you very much, Councillor Duff, seconded by Councillor Erkins. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. We shall just wait. Are we right? Oh, that was quick. Oh my gosh. Geez, that's really quick. Okay, so we've got the officer's recommendation that the port, for 19.1, officer's recommendation that the report be received for information. Can I have a mover? Councillor Henshin, second, and Councillor Erkins. Thank you very much. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 19.2, which is that the committee recommend to council that the South Burnett Regional Council reduce the transshipping fee for cross livestock from $750 to $112.50 for the 22-23 financial year due to the number of cattle transshipped from the Coolabunnya Sale Yards complex. Mover, Councillor Duff. Seconder, Councillor Erkins. Any questions or comments with regards to this one? I think we've discussed it enough. Okay, all those in favour? Carried unanimously, no one against. Okay, thank you very much for bearing with me at this meeting. Meeting is 12:47.